We be live. Shalom, shalom, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hi. Make sure you like the stream right now. I went from very friendly to extremely aggressive. Guys, make sure you like. Again, Susanna told me that I could not threaten you if you don't like the stream. I used to threaten people, but Susie is
I'll allow it.
You allow. Guys, we're part of now that I'm allowed. We're part of Mossad. Okay, apparently.
What?
So we know things. We have information. So just
This is news to me.
Like, yes. So if you do not like the stream, I'm actually I'm actually afraid of making that threat. YouTube might think we're serious. YouTube, this is a joke. We're not being serious. Anyways, guys,
I take it back.
I take it back. I don't know if the YouTube gods are wise enough yet to completely understand the difference between a joke and an actual threat. Wait, wrong channel?
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
Yes, for legal reasons, that's a joke, exactly. What do you mean wrong channel? Sarah is saying, wait, wrong channel. You know you're on the right channel. What the hell? Hi, everyone. Hi. How's everyone doing? People are liking the stream. People saying hello. Susie. So, guys, we're going to be covering some intense news stories today. And we're going to see what you guys think about it, what Susie thinks about it, what we think about it. And I'm going to keep an eye on the live chat. I'm going to be highlighting your comments. I'm going to be reading your comments, especially the super chats. Okay. So in between the news items, in between the stories, we're going to go over the super chats to see what you guys have to say. Any questions, any opinions, and stuff like that. But Susie, what kind of stories do we have today?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone that does support this show with super chats. It goes a very long way, and it is how we are able to keep this show and our programming going. So thank you to everyone that supports us. And who, if you're a member, that goes a very long way as well. If you're interested in supporting our work, the join button is down below. Plus, you get you get access to cute emojis, like an emoji of me licking the Quran. So if you do not feel like you are able to blaspheme, or you know, desecrate the Quran in protest, you can have an emoji of me doing it for you. Look, people don't know, because we have a lot of new like subscribers on this channel. That's actually something that I did. This is not like just a joke. Like, that's a real thing that happened.
She did it live on air. She started licking the Quran.
Everyone was like, "Hey, yo."
Yeah. Oh, people are actually. I can't show it. When I show it, the emoji, it shows on the live chat. But this when I highlight it,
such a disappointment.
Yeah.
Sorry, you asked. I had a diversion. You asked me what we're covering today. Today, we are going to be covering a large report from the UK government, independent little investigation that I read, and now I'm going to come back to our audience and inform them. We're also going to be talking about some terroristic pro-Palestine students in the United States, because it gives me another excuse to talk about another think tank report that I read. I'm starting to just use the news as an example to shoehorn in information that otherwise people would not probably, you know, have. I'm trying to get people to eat their vegetables. You know what I mean? Because I'm doing this research for you guys. Next, we're going to be talking about the Taliban putting in another measure against women that I perceive to be like almost like, what's the word for it that I can use on YouTube? Like self-deletion-y. Like, I have some interesting questions that I'm going to ask Armin about this. Okay. And then we're going to be talking about the rise of amputations that are done under Islamic law in Iran. Because a lot of people don't know that this is a thing that actually happens in Iran. They actually do amputations as punishment. And then lastly, but not leastly, we are going to be talking about a UK Islamic charity that is under fire right now for promoting hatred, enmity, and misogyny. Yeah. A lot of people are asking us to cover the cousin marriage ban in the UK law. I'm a little bit torn about if we should cover it because it is not necessarily an Islamic thing. It just mostly is in this context. I don't know, Armin, do you know what this is about?
It is Islamic because no, it is completely Islamic. Cover it. Because
Okay.
Islam allows cousin marriage, which is the reason why we're seeing IQs drop like a rock in Pakistan. So we do need to cover that. This is a huge issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Like,
what I
guys,
mean is
a lot of times when we mention this, people think that this is like let's make fun of them, because inbreeding is a topic of a lot of jokes. So people actually think that when we're saying this is part of a joke to make fun of Muslims. This
is a real thing. It's a very
but
real
this
thing.
is actually beyond jokes. This is actually a serious fucking issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I mean when I say that it's not necessarily an Islamic thing is that there are many, many, many Islamic cultures or cultures that majority practice Islam that do not do this the same way that Pakistan does.
Yeah, but this is
at all.
I know, but this is true, but just that's because they're being less Islamic. It's kind of like terrorism, right? It's kind of like if we see Islamic terrorism, and it's because of Islam. It's true that many Muslims are not terrorists. However, terrorists are terrorists because of Islam. Islam is to blame. So even though we don't see inbreeding in many Muslim countries, the fact that we're seeing so much inbreeding in Pakistan, you can't blame. Go ahead, guys. I'll give you the permission to go ahead and blame Islam for it. Okay, I'll give you the. You can. It's completely justified. Yes.
Yeah. Also.
Yeah.
Actually, let me save that joke for when we cover this next week.
Okay. Subscribe for that, guys. We're gonna cover it. You guys asked for it, and I'm gonna cover it.
And thank you to everyone who subscribed recently, because we recently hit 69K.
Guys.
Nice.
No.
But now that we've hit 69K, we have a really big barrier in front of us, because I think after 69, the next meme number would be 420. Right?
Yes.
And we got a ways to go before we hit 420K.
Yeah, I know you guys are going to be tempted to just stay here at 69, but let's go for 420, guys. Let's make it. Yeah, that's actually that's a good point. Yeah.
Peter is saying, I talk about inbreeding for many years. People call me racist. Look, if you look at the data, the numbers don't lie. Okay. Yeah. You cannot like them, but the numbers are real.
Actually, tell them that they're racist for not taking this situation that Pakistanis are dealing with so seriously, because they don't care about this major issue that is many Pakistanis are facing, and they don't care about it because it's not their society. So just use a Uno reverse card. We're like, no, you're the racist. Do that. Yeah. By the way, after 420, the next meme number that we could get to is 666,000 subscribers. So we have that after. Yes.
Guys, help us fulfill our dreams, okay?
Yeah.
Where we are completely.
Guys, make sure you like the stream. That will help us get there. That will help us grow.
Okay. Oh yeah, Wikar as a local Pakistani on our channel. Sorry, we should save the conversation for next week. Okay, everyone has convinced me. Everyone's convinced me. We'll cover it.
No. I want to see this because he's our Pakistani Canadian. And I want to see what he has to say. Oh my God, I hate this so much, and they don't even listen to the exclusive genetic. Yeah, but guys, secular Pakistanis are taking this very seriously. Yeah. So if you think this is racist to talk about it, then fuck you. Because Pakistanis who care about their country or who care about their society, they know that this is an issue, and you not caring about this, then for racist reason, then seriously, this is insane. Anyways.
Many
woke.
cultures have come to the conclusion that this is a very harmful practice over
Right.
across continents. Okay, I think it's okay to be like, we should probably stop. um,
Okay.
just
Talk
saying.
about.
Okay, so shall we get into the news, Armin? Is there anything else we need to plug?
No. Is this clap? I'm seeing everything today is Islam related, isn't it?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, and the countries are.
technically number 2 is not necessarily Islam related. I think these people are probably Marxist.
Oh.
Just I don't know.
Ooh, that's actually
Yeah.
very juicy one. Okay, so the second one is anti-Semitic. This time by maybe by leftists instead of Muslims, but the 4 out of 5 is Islamic, and the first one is the UK, second one is the United States, third one is Afghanistan, fourth one is Iran, and the last one is the UK again. Anyways, clappable. Next one, clappable.
We're gonna clap because Susie's about to go full nerd for you guys. Okay.
Nerdy time. All right, fantastic. First news.
The UK prisons that are breeding grounds for jihadi recruitment. I didn't know until recently when I was researching for the story about the UK police officers that are being arrested because these police officers in the UK are being caught supporting Hamas. And when I was researching that news, I discovered that there is a whole report that has come out about how there is a jihadi recruitment problem in UK prisons. And then so that led me to want to research about that. And that's what brought me to this. Okay, so let's dive into what the hell is going on here. So for the record, this is a report from 2022, but everyone in the live chat asked me to cover it. So that's why we're doing this. Okay. So a damning report by the UK's terrorism watchdog has exposed British prisons as a dangerous breeding ground for jihadist recruitment and extremist control. The independent review, led by Jonathan Hall QC, people in the UK, can you tell me what QC stands for in this context? Revealed that Islamist inmates wield alarming influence and are known to appoint their own emirs to control prison wings and even establish Sharia courts to met out punishments like flogging within the prisons. Quote, Islamist group behavior has come to be seen as part of the prison landscape, Hall warned, adding these extremists often gain a heroic profile among prisoners for their perceived anti-state actions. Guards, intimidated by insincere accusations of Islamophobia and overwhelmed by violent group behavior, often turn to these emirs to help maintain order. The report also criticized the lack of a national system to track Islamist activity in prisons, leaving authorities blind to the scale of the threat. Hall urged legislative changes to combat these issues, noting how dangerous figures like terrorists Sudesh Aman and Usman Khan carried out attacks after they were released from prison, highlighting the grave risks of inaction. Okay, so there is a lot to go through here. I read this full report. There was like a few sections I didn't read because it was all complete inside baseball about what branch is in control of this versus that and all this stuff. But okay, this was an extremely informative report. Oh, the QC stands for Queen's Council. Thank you, D. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? So basically, here's kind of it's a very what's the word I'm looking, like a toxic feedback loop, basically, because there will be these men that are sent to prison because of maybe terrorist threat or terrorist attacks or behavior or being in possession of materials that are illegal and all this stuff, right? And then in prison, they will actually become more radicalized instead of less radicalized. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One of the reasons is that, like, they actually have status within the prison for doing these things. You know, it's very hard to rehabilitate someone when the actions that led them to be in that position actually helps garner them status, reputation within the prison system, maybe respect, maybe fear. And I don't know how much people know about how little societies function within prisons, but being respected and feared is pretty important for the sake of your own protection. Having you know, people that are in your corner who are willing to protect you, you know what I mean? Um Now, what I found very alarming is the methods of control that go on in these prisons because of the activities that these prisoners are doing to each other. So, let me go through some of the notes that I took here. So, there are four main categories of control. And this is very important because people need to understand that coercive control is one of the most important elements in brainwashing and indoctrination, especially when you have physical control over a individual's physical environment. If you have control over individual's physical environment, the control that you have a much greater ability to control their psyche. This is why we see stuff like a re-education camp, right? Or the brainwashing that happens within, you know, like a POW camp or something, right? So let's go through some of the sources of control that are exactly saying captive audience. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Except in this instance, the captors are not actually the people in control of the prison. The captors, so to speak, are not the jailers, the warden. It is the other inmates. So let's go through some of these methods of control within this context of Islamic radicalization within UK prisons. So there's control through leadership and recruitment. So charismatic or violent prisoners exert a radicalizing influence on the rest of the Muslim populations within the prison. These methods of control include using enforcers, so people to exact physical violence upon people, recruiting vulnerable prisoners by offering nice things, you know, like guidance, food, gifts. Then there's also conversions, forced conversions. There are forced conversions happening within these prisons that are backed up by implicit violence or actual violence. There are instances that are documented in this report of men being beaten up basically until they convert. And then there is, you know, like basically soliciting help from them to do tasks or errands, or maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Like boons within negotiating between prison gangs, that kind of thing. There's also control of physical territory. So this involves these radicalized prisoners excluding the staff from the areas where they are allowed to do Friday prayers, because prisoners do have rights of religious freedom. And so, you know, they probably have a little chaplain area. They have like a little prayer area. And what they will do is they will exclude the prison staff from the prayer area because they say that the staffs are non-Muslim. They're not allowed to be in there. So they impose conditions of entry. They segregate Muslims prisoners from non-Muslim prisoners by different sections. And they even go so far as to exclude other prisoners from certain areas like kitchens or showers unless they comply with Sharia laws of cleanliness.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Okay. It goes further. It goes further. There's also controlling standards of behavior. So this is actually creating their own Sharia courts within the prison. And these Sharia courts exact Sharia punishments upon Muslim prisoners amongst themselves. This includes physical punishment and flogging, by the way. This also includes undermining the prison imam at Friday prayers. So what does this mean? This means like it's very common in prisons that you have, a Christian chaplain or I don't know, basically representatives who are from the outside world, the civilian world. They're civilians. They themselves are not in prison for an offense, right? These are religious figures that come to work and offer religious guidance to the prisoners, right? So there's probably like a priest or a pastor. And so there's also imams. There are imams that work for the prisons or are maybe not work. I don't know if they're paid. I don't know how it works in the UK, but they're allowed special authority and access to go deliver sermons within the prisons, right? And so basically what they will do, the jihadi prisoners, they will undermine the authority of the official authorized imam. And they do this in a variety of ways. They do this through intimidation, they do this through disruption, or they do this through like deliberate disrespect, where the imam, the appointed authorized imam, will be trying to deliver sermons, probably based on this report, basically giving sermons that are like criticizing their Islamist interpretations or giving a counter narrative to jihadi recruitment, blah blah blah. And the jihadi prisoners will openly be disrespecting this imam by like turning away from him, for example, when he's in the middle of his sermon. So like openly turning their back to him to like signal to everyone else that this is unacceptable, they don't agree with this, or actually openly interrupting him, or amongst themselves basically establishing their own little imam that they actually follow. They do other things, and this was a big problem in the report, where the prisoners know that they can weaponize insincere allegations of racism and Islamophobia. And they do this through a variety of means and for a variety of reasons. So one of the reasons why they might do this is to back up what I was talking about before, backing up control of physical territory. So if the prison guards are trying to enter when they're doing their prayers, like excluding them from spaces, excluding them from, I don't know, like the kitchen or other things, they'll accuse them of Islamophobia because they didn't follow the Sharia dictates that they're imposing upon everyone, right? So like that's their excuse. Like, oh, the person who's in charge of being a prison guard like should be where a bunch of prisoners are together doing their Friday prayers, right? Why wouldn't they be? And they're saying, no, you can't be in this area because you're not a Muslim and you didn't, do wuzu. And so if you come in here, this is bigotry, this is Islamophobia, this is a violation of my religious freedom, XYZ. This is racist, blah, blah, blah. So they know that they can weaponize accusations of Islamophobia and that it works. They also do things like, they weaponize accusations of Islamophobia or mistreatment against staff to delegitimize their authority. And they work as a collective to intimidate staff, when the staff challenges their behavior. They go so far as to demand that the people that are Muslim in their unit, who are either originally Muslim or forcibly converted, whatever, they demand that they wear certain clothing or refuse to participate in certain work or activities, right? So now they're imposing their own like little morality police upon each other. They refuse to be searched by female staff, and they are known to assault other prisoners for faith-based reasons. They're known to assault non-Muslim prisoners. And finally, the last piece is they control ideology. And so this goes into all of those instances I was talking about previously regarding the emir that leads their wing, or how they undermine the Friday the imam, all that stuff. So basically, by controlling the ideology, they do this by celebrating terrorist attacks, doing things to disrupt and mock Remembrance Day in the UK. So when there are like holidays to that are important to the British identity, essentially, they purposefully disrupt these symbols of British the British nation. They are constantly shouting takbir, derogatory words for non-Muslim prisoners, calling them kuffar, dirty kuffar. We're going to cut the heads off the kuffar. I mean, these are all things that like verbatim are listed in this report, right? And of course, just straight up circulating Islamist terrorist propaganda and takfiring other Muslims that aren't falling in line. So if there are other Muslims that are not falling in line with what they're demanding, they will call those Muslims not that un-Islamic. They will takfir them, and that's an incredibly dangerous position for a person to be put in when they are literally held captive physically with a bunch of freaking jihadis. If you're declared to be a deviant Muslim in this environment, I mean, Armin, can you briefly explain how dangerous that is?
I mean, does that need explanation? Just labeling somebody like that is like, I don't know why. I think we all know on this channel what that label means. I mean, it puts a target on your back. I have a question for you. How the fuck are they allowing this to happen? Like, this is a closed area. Why can't they control it? If I was in charge of the prison, I mean, they have enough information to know this is happening. Anytime this happens, I would just take the leader. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're going to go. Well, sorry, not sorry. You're going to go into isolation. We're going to separate you from everyone indefinitely. Like, you're turning. I mean, the whole point of the prison system is to keep society safe. This is doing the opposite. This is making these people more radicalized, more connected. They're going to come up with more resources, and they're going to be a danger to society more than before they went in. So, like, UK taxpayers are paying so much for their prison system and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. All that money is being wasted. It's making your prisons are making society worse. Why? I have a simple question. Why wouldn't you just, as soon as you notice there is any form of group being, gang being created, why not be like, okay, we are going to separate, like, you are going to be isolated forever. Like, I mean, from everyone else. Why not just do that? Like, why not just give them their own small little room as punishment? And not only this will not be a threat anymore, nobody would ever dare even think about something like that, because isolation will fuck you up, by the way, like mentally. So why not just do that? Like, is it because of human rights violations and shit like that they don't do that?
Like, partly. So there are a couple of instances or reasons for why this is allowed to occur. So one of them is that there is a loss of control due to staff shortages. And that's a very like baseline issue. Like we just literally are lacking enough people to exert proper control over the situation. And I should actually highlight one thing, this is important, that this report was exclusive to prisons within Britain. So this was not Wales, this was not Northern Ireland, not Scotland, and this was not juvenile detention facilities. This was not female prisons. This was exclusively British male prisons. So
you mean England? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, excuse me. So that's an important like note about where this is occurring. It's very specific, right? We're not seeing this in female prisons in this way. So it's a lack of like staff. Another issue is that basically there has been historically an underappreciation of the threat. And that's one thing that this report talks about, is that counterterrorism police, MI5 itself, saw the sentencing and the imprisonment of that prisoner, of that offender, as like the end of the story. And so they kind of weren't paying attention. And then another thing that was very interesting in this report that I was reading about is that the report talks about how a lot of these radicalized prisoners are actually committing what could easily be categorized as terrorist offenses while within the prison themselves. So that involves declarations of allegiance to terrorist groups, that involves maintaining their materials. There was even a prisoner that they highlighted in this report that they found planning and stowing away the materials to make an IED while in prison.
What the hell?
Okay. And so basically the report was talking about how we need to consider those activities that happen within the prison walls as themselves new terrorist offenses, because there was like a legal misconception that this wasn't happening within the public. So that can't be prosecuted. And the report is like, no, it can.
Wait, how is this even a discussion? You get a pass because you did it while in jail? What the fuck?
Well,
like, should we consider this a new crime? The guy was making a bomb to make a terrorist attack. Well, technically, it cannot be a crime because he did it while he was in jail. Let's have an intellectual discussion whether this is a new crime or not. What the actual fuck?
It actually does come down to a technicality of how the offense is written within the law. Like, in the report, it talks about certain offenses where the definition or criteria for the offense is that it happens within the public. And they're like, oh, well, if you're in prison, does that count as the public or whatever? And the person who wrote the report, the independent review, is like, yes, it does. We should prosecute this. Another reason why things are this is even allowed to occur is because, like I said, these terrorist offenders are actually seen as someone with authority and influence. They are alluring. They have a heroic profile within the prison subculture. They are seen as their terrorist offenses as like this glorious defiance, right? They have clout. They have clout. And so this is attractive to people that are looking for a more authoritative, or really more authoritarian, interpretation of their faith. That's very sexy, intellectually speaking, of course.
I actually have a solution for all of this. I just came up with the best solution. You know how the prisons are overcrowded and they don't have enough room and they don't have enough staff to manage all of this? How about we add more prisoners to all of this by arresting people who have made naughty Facebook posts talking about immigration, talking about, I don't know, the rise of Islamism. How about we just go and use the limited resources that we have to go arrest those people for
Yeah.
liking tweets, for making Facebook posts, and just add to the prison population. How about that? How about we do that?
Yeah.
And if we don't have enough room, just release some of these terrorists to make room for those people. I think that would be the perfect response to all of this.
Yeah.
shit.
What
How
could
about
go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And so another reason why this problem, or that the report identifies as why this problem has evolved into the form that it has, is that basically there's like a misguided focus on the motivation. So a lot of prison officials will basically chalk up this behavior to standard prison gang culture. And because I don't like, look, I've never been to prison, I've never been to jail. But I don't know, I guess because I'm just very intrigued by things that are on the darker side of this world. Like, educated myself quite a bit about the subculture of gangs and also prisons within gangs, watching a lot of interviews, stories about people who have survived prison culture, prison gangs, all this stuff. Like, there is some elements of this that is similar to other prison gang culture. But the problem is the implication and the promotion of enmity towards the entire British nation, the entire British public, you know, the fealty to foreign terrorist organizations. You know, there's obviously a very clear difference. And so there can be a downplaying of the scale of this ideological threat because they're just like, oh, well, this is how prison gangs act. And finally, the report identifies that one of the reasons why this got so bad is that there's been a complete lack of strategic oversight. So basically, there's no national system for tracking Islamist group activity within prisons. And so there's a lack of data on how bad this problem is, and then also where it's happening with the most severity so that more resources can be allocated appropriately. And that's one of the recommendations that this report makes about how to help fix this problem, is to be much better about tracking these instances and taking terrorist risk behavior more seriously. So it talks about terrorist risk behavior, which is essentially things that are not crimes, things that cannot be prosecuted, but behaviors that should serve as red flags for who is maybe being radicalized, or who is being the radicalizer, so to speak. So, and some of these things aren't necessarily exclusive to the way that these Islamic jihadi prison gangs work. So a terrorist risk behavior could be if there's someone from this extremist Muslim group in the prison who is asking favors of another prisoner, or basically giving another prisoner a bunch of gifts or a bunch of favors. Because basically they're gonna call back that favor one day. You know what I mean? They're gonna come asking for you to pay back that favor one day. That kind of thing. And so wait, let me get into some recommendations. Let me find this in my notes. Where is it? Oh, Armin, also, by the way, I put there was one video that I forgot to ask you to download. I put it. Oh, okay,
already downloaded and uploaded and is ready for
okay,
playing.
beautiful. Okay, how about we watch that actually real quick? And for the record, okay, I just want to say, yes, this source is RT. I do not trust RT, but the reason why I decided to still show this is because after reviewing this is reflective of things that were talked about in this independent review.
Yes.
Right? So just wanted to put that out there.
Yes. Let's play it.
UK high security jails are forcing prisoners to convert to Islam with threats and beatings. That's according to a new Ministry of Justice report.
Other prisoners are scared of us. They know they're only going to 3 other jails, and they know there will be brothers waiting there to stab them.
There is an underlying pressure for people to convert and join the gang, the tactic they use to befriend someone when they come in. If they don't convert, they will then start spreading rumours about them, that the person is a snitch, so that they will be ostracised. Then the beatings will follow.
Once I go to a Category B prison, I'll say goodbye to Islam. If I said I didn't want to be a Muslim, I'd need to watch out in case someone stabbed me. It's very dangerous to denounce Islam. It'll be nice to be true to myself.
Well, the study was conducted at 3 top security prisons and found that Muslim gangs use violence and threats to push prisoners into conversion. The report says that forced conversions are becoming increasingly widespread in high security jails, and that is due to a number of factors such as social isolation, deprivation of liberty, and also the need for protection. Well, there are almost 13,000 Muslim prisoners in British jails at the moment, about 15% of the total jail population. And then in March of 2017, we knew that there were 186 terrorists being held in British jails. 90% of them were Muslim. 3 so-called jails within a jail were also set up to house problem Islamist inmates. Our guests debated the issues raised.
Certainly in prisons, gang culture has always existed. What happens here is it's just a loose label of a Muslim. We are now attaching ourselves, some are not being converted, forcibly converted. They're actually drifting towards the bigger group of people who they feel are more aggressive, and if they coexist with them, maybe. Well, I've worked in prisons, David. Have you ever done a prison intervention? Have you worked with, like...
Well, you may have worked in prisons, but I'm allowed to have an opinion.
Hardline terrorists.
Well done. But that doesn't divert from the simple truth in this report. And the truth in this report is that Muslim gangs are causing great trouble in...
Yeah, it just cut off. I love the apologism at the end there. So yeah, basically this report had like a huge myriad of recommendations, and some of them are a little bit like inside baseball, but a lot of it had to do with government accountability, making sure. So the people that are in charge of the prisons are called governing governors, which is the most redundant name ever. They're literally called governing governors, and basically they kind of get to set the culture. And
what else is a governor supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, governing governors,
as opposed to a non-governing governor. And basically they need to be made aware of this like threat and to address it appropriately. Data collection was another recommendation, enhanced intelligence sharing, reforming the prison centers themselves. And then one thing that I also found very interesting was that they were also recommending that His Majesty's prison police use covert activities within the prison. So basically covert spying operations within the prison itself.
Sounds like a very safe job.
Dude, I don't know. How do you even go about that? To identify this terrorist threat.
Given the risk, given how risky that job is, it has to be very high paying. And I'm sure UK right now is in a position that is able to afford all of those jobs for all the prisons in the UK. From given, I mean, it's not going to be 1 or 2 that's going to be enough. I mean, this is a major issue. They're going to have to hire a whole bunch of people. UK's prisons are going bankrupt, right? Like people, this is the common knowledge. People are aware of this. Yes. Anyways, yeah. I think people know this. Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of a breakdown about everything that came out in this previous report. I found this like very, very interesting, especially considering some of the instances, because it gives the example of 2 terrorists that actually got worse after prison. So one of them was Usman Khan, who was the prisoner of the Fishmongers Hall attack. And then there was also Sudesh Aman, who was the perpetrator of attack in, how do I pronounce this? Stratham? And they were doing outrageous stuff, like openly and expressing the desire to kill the queen, become a suicide bomber. This guy was literally trying to create an IED within prison, verbally abusing female prison officers, just going around smashing stuff, shouting Allahu Akbar, notes that were attributed to them, pledging allegiance to ISIS, leading bullying gangs, all this stuff, radicalizing other people, forcing other prisoners to adopt Muslim names, telling them, reciting poems to other prisoners about cutting off the head of the kuffar, like all this stuff. And then they were allowed to leave. And then they went and created terrorist attacks on the British public. So, one thing I didn't look into, because this report came out in 2022, is how things have changed since then, since this report came out. I don't know what has been adopted and what, if anything, has changed, to be honest. But I hope that they did adopt many of the recommendations of this report. Obviously.
Well, some good news from the UK. We have a new party being created, led by Jeremy Corbyn, uniting with 4 other Islamists, because the Labour Party is not leftist enough and not pro-Palestinian enough, apparently. So
not
I'm
anti-Semitic
sure
enough. Cool.
Not anti-Semitic enough. Yes.
Never.
So apparently,
never anti-Semitic.
The unfortunate thing is that as unpopular the Labour Party is in the UK, it seems like most of the people who don't like the Labour want to go more left, want to go more Islamist, pro-Palestinian shit. Like a new party that is to the left of Labour is actually very popular. Like, I know the Reform Party is actually getting more people from the Conservative Party, but not from Labour. The people within Labour who are dissatisfied with Labour want another party that is even more leftist, with Jeremy Corbyn and 4 or 5 other Islamists. That their main the unity between them is Palestine, which is fucking insane. That we might have a party in the UK that its main agenda is another not even a country, another area. It's fucking insane. Like, this is fantastic. Things are going to get worse before they get better, if they do get better. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I've been studying all this stuff, I'm going to be going to the UK next year. My boyfriend's worried about me. I'm I'll be fine. What are you talking about? So shall we go through our super chats?
Yes,
super chatty chats.
You do that while I get this. Can you bring us? Oh, you already did that.
Your audio just got worse. I think you need to pull your mic closer to your face or something.
Oh, is it better now?
There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! Idris sent a super chat, €5. Oh my gosh! Wow, you send a super chat to us to celebrate your achievement. That's very kind of you. Idris is saying, "I am glad to say that I am now officially a graduated engineer. I look forward to serving my Atheist Republic." Congratulations, Idris! That's huge. Wow, you must have worked really hard for that. Naked Assad gave 15 shekels, saying, "Thank you, Susanna, for hosting awesome streams. You always get excellent points." And and your co-host Armin is pretty okay too. Thank you.
I know. That's supposed to be a joke, but technically, I am the co-host on the news shows. Yeah, so I am the co-host. This is Susie's show.
And you do more than an okay job. But thank you, Naked Assad, for the shekels. Proof that, I don't know, apparently after your stream on the Assadist tears, it's clear that everyone is a Zionist puppet. And so is Naked Assad.
Yes.
By the way, I'm making that Spider-Man pointy finger, Zionist me.
Yeah.
Because we need that for reference, obviously.
Wait, before you go to the next super chat, can I just show this on the screen that you guys know that I'm not full of shit, that I know what I'm talking about? This is what I'm talking about, okay? Jeremy Corbyn and these 4 independent MPs in the UK, they're too anti-Semitic to be in any fucking party. Look at you know, based on their looks, you can tell.
Well, Iqbal Muhammad, this guy right here, Iqbal Muhammad, he's the guy pushing to not ban cousin marriage in the UK. He has the balls to stand up in public and be like, no, let us fuck our cousins.
To inbreeding. Yeah, so this is going to be, they're trying to unite each other, and they're basically are in, you know, they might actually make a new party. Look at them. I mean, just look at them, okay? Jeremy Corbyn leading them, basically a party of anti-Semites. And yeah, things, if they become more influential in UK politics, this would be the Islamization. You know how people kept warning about us that the Islamization of UK politics? This is what's happening right now. This is going to be its own party. Fucking hell. All right.
Anyway. Asian American, thank you for the super chat, saying sounds like the prisons need Singaporean quotas. For those who are not aware, like in Singapore, I'm probably going to get the details of this wrong, but they have basically like racial, religious, ethnic quotas per specific neighborhoods. So like as a matter of state, they prevent where you or dictate where you are allowed to live based on your group characteristics. So this is a means to prevent self-segregation, ghettoization, and basically demand assimilation, which is very interesting. Sounds like maybe they do. Kenny gifted 5 Atheist Republic memberships. Thank you, Kenny. That's so generous. If guys, if you just got a membership from Kenny, make sure to use your emojis in the live chat. Thank you, Kenny. Sarah is asking, Susanna has prison experience? No. I just find studying gang culture very interesting.
I have being arrested experience. Didn't make it all the way to prison, but I was arrested for half a day for being in a car with a girl. Shit, for the crime of being in a car with a girl that I was not related to. So in Iran, so I was arrested once. That's the only thing I've ever been arrested for.
Yeah, I've never really gotten close.
They took away my car and they lost it. For 6 months, I was looking for. Yeah. So they took away my car. Yeah. And then I had to go to. So my mom came and took me. Right. And can I tell you the story? Should I tell you the story?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So they took me to the police station because I was in a car with another girl. And
this is in Iran, if anyone can't tell.
So when they took me to the station, I called my mom on the way. She was coming to pick me up, and the whoever was in charge in that station, the guy started lecturing me about why are you doing this? This is not proper. You should be a good Muslim. This is not Islamic. This is haram. This is a sin. Fucking bullshit, stuff like that. And I was a rebellious teenager at that point, and he was going on and on and on. And then at some point, I had fucking enough, and I told him, well, you know what? All of the stuff that you're saying doesn't apply to me. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, well, because I'm not a Muslim. So the things that you're saying I should do does not apply to me because I'm not a Muslim. And he was like, what do you mean? Aren't you born into a Muslim family? I'm like, yeah. And like, so how are you not a Muslim? I was like, I left Islam. And he was like, you left Islam? And I'm like, yeah, I left Islam. And the guy was silent for a few seconds. And then he was like, listen to me, you motherfucker. Like something Iranian swear. He was like, I could destroy your fucking life right now with my pen. You have no idea what you're telling me. Don't you ever say that to anyone ever again. This, or else you're going to lose your fucking life. So he went from, to be fair to him, the guy was not that bad because he went from lecturing me to all of a sudden being worried about my fucking safety.
He protected you
my
from
mom-
yourself, honestly.
Yeah. And then when my mom came, by the way, guys, this was right now in Iran, many people are saying they're not Muslim. This is the norm now in Iran. Back when I said this is more than 20 years ago. This was not normal to say. Okay, this is like before what we're saying, the wave of mass exodus out of Islam. I was an ex-Muslim before it was cool in Iran. Okay, now everybody and their dog is an ex-Muslim in Iran. Okay, now people's grandmas and grandparents are ex-Muslims in Iran. Okay, I was I was a trendsetter. Anyways, when my mom came, the guy took my mom into a room and he said, "Your son told me something that I will not repeat, and you just tell him not to say that ever again. Your son is going to get himself killed," right? So he told my mom that, and then when we got into a car, my mom said, like, "What did you tell him?" And I was like, "Just drive." I didn't want to talk about it, but they didn't. So they took my car. I went home with my mom's car. They said, like, you have to come and file these papers to get your car back. And when I went back to another police station to get my filing and everything, my file had the label of sexual harassment written on top of it. What the fuck is that? Like, what are you talking about? I was like when I was going from room to room, like trying to cover hide the cover of my file because it was written in bold on top of it, right? Like, what the fuck? I was
Mom,
like,
don't look. It's not true.
No, it wasn't mom anymore. I was doing it myself. Like it was. This is after, right? And then I was hiding at the time. But then when they called me, they called my name and the file, like, for what? Out loud to everybody there. It was fucking insane. They were trying to humiliate me. I don't know what the fuck kind of system is that, right? Anyways, they told me to go pick up my car. Eventually, when I filed everything and everything, they told me to go pick up my car from a parking. And they were like, "Where is it?" And like, "We don't know." So they didn't write which parking my car is in. So I had to go to many different parking lots from top to bottom, looking at every fucking car.
Wow.
I think I looked into 6 different parking lots to eventually find my car. And then when I got in, because they gave me the key, and then eventually when I got in, it was obvious that they were using it. They had like party stuff. They had like, they played my music, the music that I had in the car. It was in a different place. They had food everywhere. I don't know who was using my car in this time, like in this couple of months, but they were using it for partying or something. It was fucking insane. I was so angry, and I was like, I had nobody to complain to. It was a time of my life that, yeah. Anyways, that was my memory of being arrested once. At least I didn't go to jail, so there's that.
Well, yeah, and at least you weren't hanged. There's that.
Yeah. yeah. That guy might have saved my life because I was in such a rebellious, that guy scared me, right? By saying stuff like that. I might have, like, I was yeah. But I was in such rebellious mood that I might have been killed because of going around and telling everybody that I left Islam.
I love this. Armin Navabi, sexual harassment. You may pick up your car now. Oh my god.
Sexual harassment, something Gen Z. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. It was so embarrassing.
Well, I expect nothing less than utter mismanagement from any government body of the Islamic Republic. Yeah. But I'm glad you didn't get hanged. I think everyone in our community that lives in an Islamic country is probably like, God damn, this you had no chill.
I mean, I was like pretty pissed because when I became an ex-Muslim, I was like, what the fuck? Everyone is lying to all of us. So I was like, and you're in your teenage phase, and you think like, I need to wake up society. This is insane. Everybody's being lied. Society, everybody's being lied to.
You sheeple.
Wake up, sheeple. Islam is a lie.
Society. I mean, that makes sense, especially considering that, like, you didn't even know that atheists were a thing that exist when you apostatized. So,
yeah.
Oh my God, we live in a society.
Society.
Okay, wait. Let's get back to the super chats.
Yeah. Okay.
Sarah's saying that we should have an opening song like AP. I'm thinking of that. Or at least a little closing thing.
Well, guys, tell Susie because Susie approves I used to be in control of what Atheist Republic gets to spend money on, but now because Susie is the CEO, I have to. Guys, this is the level of humiliation I have to deal with. I will tell you behind the scenes. Okay, I have to go to Susie and beg for money every time I see a software that we want. I mean, to be fair, Susie has saved us financially because I used to spend too much money. And Susie is like very financially aware of like, yeah, we cannot afford that. And I'm like, come on, it's only $20 a month. And Susie is like, no, because it keeps like gathering together and we cannot afford it. So I want a Sumo AI that makes music with AI. I want that subscription. And I have been asking Susie to let us have that for a couple of months now. And she's like, says like, we shall see. So yeah, guys, this is what I have to deal with. I have to go and beg Susie to spend Atheist Republic money on stuff, and she will decide whether or not we can do it or not.
I mean, hey, people make the decision to, support us financially. And to be fair, we are extremely efficient with, the support that we get. But yeah, that has to be managed. Choices are made. Okay. I have to.
Yeah. To be honest, the way Susanna manages Atheist Republic, I sometimes think like she must have been the CEO of 3 other companies before she did this. I don't know how she has the management skill, which is amazing.
Meanwhile, I just started as a little 24-year-old, like learning on the job, teaching myself everything.
Yeah. Amazing.
Anyways, okay, so we got a super chat from Graham talking about the prison situation, saying this is why they need real men to guard the prisons, not weak, effeminate soy boys being scared of being called racist. Okay, in defense, you need to be backed up by a system and institution that will support you in these scenarios, right? If the entire institution and system is not going to back you up and support you and have your back when you're trying to address these behaviors, it doesn't matter how brave an individual man is if the culture of the elites that are setting the tone for these systems give credence to this stuff. I mean, this is how things like the grooming gang situation is even allowed to occur.
And also, Susie, you're so on point. By the way, John is loving your answer. She's like, he's going crazy with your answer. He's loving it. But to be, to add to Susanna's point, if you go with like, real men kind of talk, while you don't have institutional support behind you, this is a system-wide solution rather than individual type like behavior solution. Be a real man. Like if you want to be a real man as you define it, without having institutional support behind you, that's the best way to get killed. Okay. Sometimes people, I'm in favor of positive masculinity. Okay, so we're not anti-masculinity, but 100%. The negative type of masculinity is the type of masculinity that for the sake of bravery, you do stupid shit that gets you killed. Okay, that's not the type of masculinity that we want. Okay, so yeah, do not stand up against a fucking gang without actually having the system being fixed in a way that it could be supportive of you.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the kind of thing that has made me understand the like populist influence a lot more than I used to. But in general, I'm not a populist by any stretch of the imagination. Gasian American gave a super chat saying the People's Republic of China would never. Would it be ethical to give them a social credit score with parole times and additional goodies based on it? I mean, yeah. I mean, every prison I mean, I don't know about however you want to call it. Every prison has a system of privileges and consequences. This is a basic thing. You get a reduced time or an opportunity to go up for parole early based on good behavior.
Social credit scores make sense in prisons. The problem with PRC is that they wanted to use it outside of prisons, basically turning the entire public society into a prison. But yeah, social credit score does make sense inside a prison, but please don't bring it out. Don't bring it into the streets like China. Yeah. China. Oh, we have to bring this back now that Trump is in power. It's not China anymore. It's China.
China. Rafa, excuse me, saying, hey guys, are you guys going to cover the new study showing civilian deaths have been exaggerated to demonize Israel?
Somebody send that to me.
I can send that to you easily. I got that bookmark, baby.
Yeah, why didn't you why wouldn't you send me this?
Okay, because sometimes I assume that you also have eyes everywhere, the way that I have eyes everywhere, and I'm wrong. I make an assumption.
Don't make an assumption. Send me that stuff. Guys, should I make a stream on this? This is pretty earth-shattering, and not enough people are talking about it.
Yeah, it was done by the Henry Jackson Society.
If I make this stream, you better come watch it, because sometimes you tell me to make a stream, and then I make it, and then you don't come watch it. So tell me that there's a major demand for this in the comment section, so I know if I should make it or not. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
But basically, what I'm saying is like it. As a source, it was conducted by the Henry Jackson Society, and they are very good at the kind of reporting that they do in terms of their methodology and stuff. Unicorn is saying, I'm late, but make sure to hit the like button. Yes, everyone, please remember to like this stream. Help us pray to the YouTube gods. John is celebrating his membership for 7 months. Thank you for supporting the channel for 7 months, John. Saying, has there been grassroots pushback to UK Islamists? I don't know if you're referring like specifically within these prisons or just in general, but in general, 100%. I mean, that's what Tommy Robinson does, and he's been active for like a very long time. You could even go back to the English Defense League, which has, a controversial history.
You want Tommy.
Yeah, but technically that
so
is
controversial that yes. No, but Tommy himself says that those people are just anti everything that is not white. So Tommy doesn't like them.
Yeah, no, but I've watched interviews with him talking about how it wasn't that way, and it only got that way after he was taken to prison, and then it got infiltrated by Yahtzees.
Yahtzees, and he left them for that reason.
Yeah,
it's so amazing that people want to say that Tommy Robinson is racist, but he left them because they became racist. And I remember I saw an interview with Tommy when he was so young. And he was like, what's the difference between you and them? And he looked at the interviewer so baffled about the question, like, well, these motherfuckers, like he said, these people just are anti everything that is not white. Like, can you not tell the difference? I am here because I'm concerned about Islam rising in the UK. I'm not a fucking racist. I left those people because they were racist. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so Gasian gave another super chat scene. I think this law is only being discussed. Oh, okay. So he's talking about the cousin marriage thing. I think this law is only being discussed after the death of the queen because she married her first cousin. The dragons to incest ratio is off. This is a Game of Thrones reference, but I don't fully get it.
Right.
I
I,
don't know why it's being
I
discussed
never.
now. I actually need to look into that.
Hmm.
So Ziv Atad gave 45 shekels. Thank you. Saying here, I know this isn't much, but I hope it will help. Thank you for being on the side of truth and justice. Well, thank you so much, Ziv. No, seriously,
Thank you.
everything helps, even if it's just
Yeah, guys.
liking the
First,
stream, leaving a comment, subscribing, sharing.
let me tell you about the super chats. First of all, don't give us super chats if you're financially not secure enough. But if you're financially secure enough, small super chats add up, right? So just don't be like, oh, this specific one super chat is very small. You have to understand that in a stream, if we consistently get a small super chats in one stream, that adds up to so much. So yeah, one individual super chat is not that big, might not seem like it's a big deal, but if you notice a lot of small super chats, that could make or break a channel. Like that will basically be the difference between us being in the red and not being in the red. So yeah. We get another
Pagan is
super
saying
chat.
this is why Susanna should run the channel. She's always one step ahead of you, Armin. And John was saying financial
does.
responsibility.
Hey, guys, she does run the channel. She's in charge of not just the channel, but the entire organization. So that's why she's in charge.
It's a lot of admin. Here's what I realized is that activism isn't as sexy and exciting as people want to think. It's a lot of admin. It's a lot of admin.
That you don't see behind the scenes, yeah.
Yeah, that's not thrilling. Roy, oh hi Roy, good to see you. Gave some shekels. Ain't amazing haircut, Armin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Roy knows how to make me feel better.
Oh.
Oh.
Stop it. Oh my god.
Stop it. Yeah. We compliment each other. Oh, we are these.
Okay, shall we go on the next story?
Yes. Is it clappable?
It is clappable because it is giving me an excuse to highlight once again that the domestic anti-Israel movement is terrorism all the way down. I want to talk about that.
So yeah, guys, this news, when you listen to it, remember when you hear pro-Palestine reports like news like this, you think like, oh, you mean a terrorist group or a terrorist supporting group, okay? And here's more evidence of that. Okay.
Basically.
So, basically, yes. Next news.
Well, I have to be careful about how I say this for YouTube. So I will say death to the juice. Okay? Orange juice. I don't know. Okay? But we all know what I mean. Okay? YouTube, don't strike me down.
YouTube,
radical...
we're not, this is, no, let's be clear. This is very risky. YouTube, we are saying we are exposing other people's anti-Semitism. We are calling them out. We are exposing them. We are against their views. Okay, this is not our views. We're quoting other people. But go ahead.
Yeah, and this is all based on reporting that has come out recently and court cases that are forthcoming and allegations. So, take it how you will. A radical protester's home filled with guns and terror flags. In August 2024, tensions flared at George Mason University, which is a very important university for those who don't know in the US, when radical protesters defaced the campus with spray-painted calls for a student intifada. At the center of the controversy were sisters Jenna and Noor Chana, leaders of the university's Student for Justice in Palestine chapter, or SJP for short, and they're accused of orchestrating the incident. So basically, they're accused of orchestrating vandalism and defacement to the campus property, which caused thousands of dollars of damage. What seemed to be a case of vandalism quickly escalated into something more alarming. When police searched the Chana family home in November, so this November, they uncovered a shocking arsenal: firearms, piles of ammunition, flags of Hamas and Hezbollah, and chilling signs declaring death to America and death to the Jews. Authorities seized the weapons under Virginia's red flag laws, citing concerns that the sisters' brother, Mohammed Chana, posed a danger due to his connection to terroristic materials. Although Mohammed later petitioned successfully to regain his firearms, the fallout for Jannah and Noor was swift and severe. George Mason University suspended the SJP chapter on campus and banned the sisters from campus for 4 years. So they're not allowed to enter the property for 4 years. Under their leadership, the SJP chapter had openly endorsed Hamas. What began as a campus protest unearthed deeper questions about extremism, safety, and the line between free speech and incitement. So this is really important because I've talked a lot recently about a report that I have read by the security analyst Ryan Mauro at Capital Research Center. And the name of his report is called Marching Towards Violence. I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in learning more about this because he documents how basically he examines the rhetoric and materials and publications of over 150 organizations involved in the domestic pro-Palestine, really anti-Israel movement, right? And he has a very high standard in his report of what qualifies as pro-terrorism. He wanted to make this an unassailable definition of what is pro-terrorism. And this is a definition that is used by like the FBI, right? It's a specific high bar criteria. And then he just approached this report by just looking through the statements and materials of over 150 groups that are involved in promoting a pro-Palestine agenda. You know, just like, okay, let's look at who the big players are. Let's look at who the big players are and see what they say. And he found that in this movement, over 150 groups make statements and can be categorized as pro-terrorism, explicitly in favor of terrorism, just on the basis of what they publish, who they support, who they admire, endorsements, all sorts of stuff. So basically, like, and if I read the 150-page report in full, and it becomes very clear that from top to bottom, all of the major players down to minor players in this movement explicitly support terrorism. To the point that when I had the opportunity to ask him, like, oh, are there any organizations that actually don't meet this standard? He like had a hard time coming up with examples and could instead only come up with examples where he found that some of these organizations are explicitly, particularly Muslim organizations, are explicitly warning their members to not openly endorse Hamas. He said that even some of the groups that are in favor of the two-state solution support and offer rhetorical support for violent and terroristic means to do so. So after reading this report in full and even going through basically the entire appendix of the report, you come to what?
You did all of that? You read the whole report, including the appendix?
Yeah, because I'm a full-blown nerd, okay? It becomes very clear that it is like just terrorism all the way down. And that moving people from the periphery down to the spearhead of the logical conclusion is domestic terrorism, is the pathway of this movement. It becomes very, very clear. And this instance with these sisters or this family is a very clear example of this to me. It's a very when I was reading this story that came out recently, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what was discussed in this report. This is the logical conclusion. And so let me back up a little bit and explain a few things. So these two sisters, based on their social media activity and some of the things that they say, seem to come from a Palestinian family. And that they had all of these materials. So basically, because of what they were alleged to have done in terms of in encouraging and leading, inciting the vandalism, whatever, that led to this larger investigation, right? And the larger investigation, when they got the warrant to search their house, revealed all this other stuff. When it talks about how there were materials, they found pro-terror materials, including Hamas and Hezbollah flags and signs that read "Death to America" and "Death to the Jews," according to court documents and sources familiar with the case. When it comes to those "Death to America," "Death to the J people," I will say, signs, I would wager that those signs are Houthi signs. That's what I would guess. I would guess that those are Houthi signs. Because I mean, that's like literally the slogan. There was some other details. Oh, you know what's great, Armin? You know what's great? You know who's coming to the defense of these sisters? Guess.
Hassanabi?
No, it's an organization.
Wait. CARE?
CARE is defending these students. The Council on Islamic Relations is saying that according to them, these girls are being targeted. They're being targeted for engaging in anti-genocide events. They're being targeted for engaging in anti-genocide events on their campus.
The fuck? They had guns and anti-Semitic chant.
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't this be the end of CARE? I mean, these are obviously terrorists, and CARE is saying that they're being targeted.
Well, CARE is one of these groups that is pro-terrorism. CARE is one of these groups. I know,
but this is too obvious.
Yeah.
This should be the end of. Oh my fucking God.
I mean, Armin, what's more obvious is that their freaking ED, Nawad, whatever his name is, was celebrating October 7th very shortly after it happened. You know, that is actually why, because I don't know if people know this, CARE had very cozy relationships with the White House. CARE was kind of the go-to people for the Obama and Biden administration.
Biden went and gave a hadith from Muhammad to CARE. Like Biden went and read a hadith, a very bad hadith, I remember.
And but it was finally those statements from their ED, their executive director, Nawad, that caused the White House to finally cut ties and move away from a relationship with them. So let me read a little bit of CARE's statement on these students, because I can't deal. The Council on Islamic American Relationships, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization, today condemned the draconian police raid on the family home of two Palestinian American students at George Mason University who participated in anti-genocide events on campus, and demanded that the university rescind its draconian measures targeting the students. Oh yeah, it's so draconian to ban students that committed crime and vandalism on campus property from allowing them on that property. It's so draconian to not allow.
And how are they anti-genocidal?
Oh yeah, we're gonna trespass them. Like what?
And also, how are they anti-genocidal? To me, it seems like they are planning a genocide based on what the content that they're collecting.
Dude, it's so crazy. So basically, the school's SJP chapter got banned because of this. And this is really important because, again, going back to these reports that I'm just absorbing in my brain, that I finally have an excuse to dump on all of y'all, is that the national body of SJP has actually declared themselves to be part of Hamas. I
What?
want to emphasize this once again. The national body has declared themselves to be part of Hamas. Here is an example. The SJP's Day of Resistance Toolkit. So these are PDFs that they circulate as to teach people about how to engage in all these direct actions that further their goals. Toolkits, their instruction manuals. This states, quote, "We as Palestinian students in exile are part of this movement." Capital,
So you're terrorists.
all caps. We are part of this movement, not in solidarity with this movement. This declaration, made in the context of celebrating and supporting the October 7th attacks, unequivocally aligns them with Hamas, which is an acronym for the Islamic resistance movement. So when they talk about the movement, when they talk about the resistance, they are talking about Hamas, just not using the name Hamas. Again, the significance of declaring themselves to be part of this cannot be overstated. From my notes, they are not simply expressing solidarity. They are claiming to be a component and receiving direction from, receiving inspiration from Hamas itself, and doing so on the behalf of Hamas. So basically, you can easily make the case that universities have terrorist designated organizations operating on their campuses and on their property. So
Yeah,
this is why there is like a national move to get SJP banned and prosecuted.
I mean, if Susie, if somebody expresses that we're part of ISIS, do you know how big of a deal that would be? That would be a terrorist cell.
Yeah.
That would be considered by everybody with 2 fucking neurons, at least, a terrorist cell within the United States. So how is that's pledging allegiance to ISIS? So how is this any fucking different? Like, this is Hamas.
Yeah. So
Why is this not being treated as much as aggressively?
because there is a need to do a lot of education. There is a need to educate journalists about the nature of this group, because journalists are so overworked and underpaid that when they're reporting on the activities of SJP, they're not mentioning stuff like this, right? So they're giving a false legitimacy or impression of false legitimacy to the public. Another instance is like basically, I believe I would have to double check the report, because SJP is allowed to operate within the American nonprofit charity system. I believe, I would have to double check, that they have a fiscal sponsor, and the fiscal sponsor of their activities is American Muslims for Palestine. And being a fiscal sponsor means that they basically, one 501c3 lends them the tax-free status, and then they'd have different and lesser reporting burdens. So I know that American Muslims for Palestine is being investigated in the state of Virginia and being probed for a lot of these activities. Basically, there's legislation that people are calling the Kill the Nonprofits bill, House Bill 5949 something. It's not killing nonprofits. This is all leftist progressive lies. This is a bill that recently passed the House and is go to the Senate. And it would basically strip the nonprofit status of terrorist supporting organizations. And groups like the ACLU are saying that this is against Palestinian dissent and all this shit. It's a violation of free speech, all this shit. It's not. But we don't even need new legislation like that. We just need to enforce the legislation that we already have. Because on the basis of the activities of what SJP does and what, by extension, their fiscal sponsor allows, they're already committing activities that render them in violation of why they're allowed to be a 501c3. So basically, it requires people directing attention to the bodies that can take action against them about how they're already violating the law. But something like that is a slow-moving beast. I mean, we're talking about the U.S. Treasury Department, the IRS, like all this stuff. Those are big beasts. So let me quickly remind myself what's going to go forward with this case. So the SJP chapter on this campus got banned. They called themselves the GMU. That's an acronym for the University Intifada on Instagram. So that tells you a lot right there. They got banned from campus. Did they get expelled or suspended? That's what's not clear to me.
Shouldn't they be in jail?
Yeah, I am not entirely sure what's going to happen with all these materials that were found.
Oh God, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Dude,
How
the
are they not
statement
in
from
jail?
CARE is
You're telling me
insane.
that you're telling me they're not in jail?
No, not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, well. You know what? I give up. Fuck this shit. God damn it, man.
Dude. Can I just read this statement from CARE that is so insane? Such alleged draconian measures used by law enforcement fit a pattern of nationwide attempts to silence or intimidate those who seek to end the Israeli genocide in Gaza and the Biden administration's complicity in that genocide. The reported refusal to show a search warrant is a giant red flag, as are reports that the students were suspended without any accusations of civil or student violations. What are you talking about? I mean, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but they were alleged to commit vandalism and damage to campus property. Finally, such a raid for allegedly spray painting property raises reasonable questions about what is happening. What? Such a raid for allegedly spray painting property raises reasonable questions about what is happening, unless George Mason University administration has decided anti-genocide viewpoints require special treatment outside normal due process. These measures should be rescinded. Unless George Mason administration has decided anti-genocide viewpoints require treatment outside normal due process, these measures should be rescinded. Anti-genocide viewpoints? They're spray painting shit about intifadas and terrorism. Yeah, that requires action outside normal due process. What the? I have to read this multiple times to let it sink in.
Calling for intifada is not only not anti-genocidal, it is actually an invitation to genocide. What the fuck are these people talking about? Holy shit, man. We live in the opposite world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
Sarah is saying, yeah, death to America, anti-genocide. Death to Israel, anti-genocide. Sure. Oh my God. Intifada. Intifada.
Yeah. The cat lady is saying, Susanna, can you do a short history of CARE? Would love to know. You know, I've been thinking about one day maybe going through and doing a segment about how CARE is an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land terror financing case. Where, for those who don't know, the Holy Land Foundation was a charity in the United States that was prosecuted for literally funding Hamas. And CARE was an unindicted co-conspirator in that case. And that happened like in 2009 or something. It's absolutely insane.
Susie, I'm still confused. How are they saying this is not justified when they found weapons? And how is that? Huh?
Because we know their playbook, Armin. We know their playbook. Oh. This is part of their playbook. How are they saying this? They're not trying to be reasonable. This is part of their playbook.
Like the police was like, I think the police that did the search, they're like, huh? Look at the meme where the kid is like showing the things. They should be like guns, terror flags, anti-Semitic chants, called for intifada. How is this not justified? Huh? Huh? How is this not? What are you talking about? Are we talking about the same thing? Shit, man. Fucking
Yeah.
hell, this is so weird.
It's, oh my God, it's so crazy. Because no, they're contesting whether that raid that led to the discovery of those materials was valid to begin with. That's their
I mean,
whole
the
framing.
guns would say otherwise. The results, you shall know them by the fruits of their labor.
Facts.
Biblical. Yeah.
But I mean,
God.
Armin, we're allowed to have guns in this country.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not saying this is, you need to have valid suspicion. The guns next to call death to Israel, death to America, calling for intifada. So yeah, you're allowed to have guns. But if I find guns, for example, in your home next to plans of robbing a fucking bank, I'm like, as the police, I have legitimate grounds to be like, yeah, we need to investigate this fucking shit. Like this shows that this raid was justified. You know?
Like,
So
I'm worried.
having guns next to plans for intifada, I mean, I think that was a raid well done.
Mm-hmm. So let's go to some super chats.
Wait. Before we
Oh.
go to super chat, you know how you keep saying death to Jews? Every time we say that, I have to show this meme. So every time I just love this meme so much. Because this guy said Jews not because he was trying to not get demonetized. He just didn't know how to spell. But this is such an old meme, and I just love it, and I have to show it every time. Anyways,
it's okay. We all get confused.
Anyways,
So yeah. Anyways, I hope this was informative to you guys and serves as a case in point. You know, it'll be interesting to see how the court cases and stuff move forward. But based on the evidence available currently, I find this a very interesting example of exactly the report that I was just studying. So
wait. We forgot for the first news. We should look at the comments that highlighted. Yes. Yeah. We forgot. Sorry about that. What is this first one?
Oh, this is just like explaining the statement. Explaining the news.
And here the
Oh yeah, this person is saying the real world will be a rude awakening for them when they leave the tolerance of their institutional bubble. I mean, yeah, but there is also a lot of support for this in the real world.
Yeah.
To be honest.
There's that. What about this one?
Yeah, someone's saying, gee, I hope their name doesn't pop up on a Google search for future jobs. That's going to be a problem. Although, to be fair, I mean, as long as you stay within this ecosystem, that's not dissuasive.
I just hope that guys remember the polls show that most Americans are pro-Israeli still. So let's just hope that this is why you need to support channels like ours, okay? Because you guys, all of us together, we need to make sure that this ecosystem doesn't grow until they could, because if they grow enough, they could create their own parallel society and keep supporting each other and remain self-sustaining. So that's a major concern. This bullshit needs a responding to, and that's one reason this channel requires more support from you guys. Okay. Anyways, what's this one?
Yeah, Sarah, I would enjoy that as well. Another person responded saying, I could not be happier. We need to remove this plague that is spreading through the West and not normalized and not only normalized not ideology, but action but encouraged as if it is part of liberalism. Sick. Lauren is on point here. Yeah.
Yep.
Don't disagree. Kenny T gave a super chat. Thank you so much, Kenny. Thank you for supporting the channel.
Thank you.
Rafa is saying, I find it hilarious that they pretend these girls are considered brown when they're more white passing than many Ashkenazis. I hate the whole Jews equals white BS. I mean, yeah, you know what's funny is actually I've seen interviews of Linda Sarsour talking about how before she became a hijabi, she called herself just looking like any other white girl in the street.
Hmm.
So like people as insidious as Linda Sarsour are like openly, they know that, right? God, that
I
woman
guess
is, I'm so glad she's basically
I don't know
irrelevant
why I
now.
get so annoyed with this still being part of the discussion. Like skin color, like I fucking have no like I don't know. I just feel like are we still dealing with this? I mean,
Yeah.
Islam being a meme, I understand it because as insane as it is, it's a very well designed, powerful meme. So even though it's a cancer that we want to eliminate at some point, I could see when you study it why it's such a powerful cancer. But as soon as people when skin color is like, how is this still relevant? I don't understand it.
Honestly, on either side of the discussion, like even being like,
Yeah.
oh, how are they considered brown? Blah blah blah. Like I don't care. I'm so over
I
it.
don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Yeah. I mean, I actually, to be fair, I understand why this is still relevant because the human brain is so visual. That might be
Yeah.
it's like you know how dogs are so smell oriented. Humans are so visual that I could see why, if they want to categorize people, visual elements would have such a major,
Yeah.
factor. Yeah.
Okay, so the next super chat. Oh, you had a statement from Free to Logic. Please repeat the name of the report or link it in the comments. Atheist Republic. I really want to read it. Okay, so I will put a link to this in the chat. The full name of the report is Marching Towards Violence, the Domestic Anti-Israeli Protest Movement. And it's by Ryan Mauro at Capital Research Center. I can't even imagine how much work he put into this. And can I say that I was so impressed by this report because for people who don't know, I used to like be Antifa, and there are sources and organizations that he looks at and examines this in this report that are exactly what I was exposed to when I was part of the movement. So like from someone that was on the inside, to the point that he found a specific source that I have been looking for over a year about making a specific statement from a specific organization that I have not been able to find. And he found it again in this report. I was like, oh my God, this is, I literally like exclaimed when I was reading it. I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. This is, this is it. This is the real deal.
Yeah, people don't know. People are saying she was in Antifa. Yeah, Susie is ex-Antifa. This is why she knows cult psychology. So well, after she left Antifa, she went and studied cult psychology to figure out what the hell has happened to
going
her.
on.
And this is why, yeah, and also this is why she's so good as research, because she was trying to explain her own past, doing all of this research. Yeah.
Okay, so we had another super chat by A saying it's not taken seriously because our government is infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood.
Infiltrated by Muslim. I would say Muslim Brotherhood has found ways to. They have people within the government that are able to pull some levers. They have lobbying capabilities. They have advisors. Okay. However, infiltrated would suggest that the other side doesn't have people in the government as well. So the government is like multifactorial. I think this is simplifying the situation. So we have pro-Muslim Brotherhood people. And it's also, when it comes to Islamism, Muslim Brotherhood is one brand of Islamism. We have
Yeah.
other brands of Islamism that is anti-Muslim Brotherhood and that are inside the government as well. And we also have anti-Islamism people within the governments. So instead of acting like it's just a one factor thing that is like one that is controlling the government, the more accurate way of looking at this is a competition of different people with different agendas and different level of power of influencing, constantly competing with each other. Even when it comes to the Islamic influence in the government, there are multiple different groups with multiple different agendas. So, for example, we have the Vilayat Faqih Isna Ashari Islamic influence as well, right? Not just Muslim Brotherhood, right? Which is competing with that. And we have also people who are anti-Islamist that have influence in the government that are trying to push back on this. So it's a little bit more complicated. But if your point is that they have influence within the government, then yes, your point is correct.
Well, and to be honest, my understanding is that the Muslim Brotherhood is less influential than it used to be, and actually who's most influential in our institution nowadays is something called the Safa Network. Maybe I should do some segments on that based on conversations with people I know in the counter-Islamist space.
Well, I mean, to be honest, if you consider Qatar to be Muslim Brotherhood, okay, then that would be a major influence, right?
Yes.
In our government.
Qatar has like bought out entire universities.
Yes. So, but I would, when it comes to different brands of Islamism, when it comes to their influence over U.S. government, I would consider the most concerning one to be the hidden lobby groups by the Islamic Republic inside the U.S. government. I would be more concerned about that than even Muslim Brotherhood. The different advisors that they have managed to somehow get in to the U.S. government, those are the most problematic ones.
I'm also very concerned about Qatari influence and some Turkish influence as well.
Yeah, Turkish would also be Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah. Okay, so Gasian gave a super chat. By the way, Asian American got married. Congratulations. So Gasian gave a super chat saying the Second Amendment organized militia defense. I don't know if they could. I don't know. I don't know if they could render that defense. I need to go back and double check if they are actually being prosecuted for anything specific right now. Yeah, that's not entirely clear to me. Like the brother that was found to have a handgun, he was not charged with the crime. Apparently the local police are investigating this whole incident with the FBI. So it remains to be seen how this will continue. So Kenny gave a super sticker. Thank you, Kenny. Oh, you wanted to highlight this from Kelvin?
Yeah, so Kelvin is correct that so one of the main institutions that was basically the indirect lobby of the Islamic Republic is NIAC, and Kelvin is correctly pointing out that NIAC and Islamic Republic lobby are not as influential as they used to be. Yes, but you're completely correct, and they're going to be even less influential when Trump comes to power. They're going to be much less influential. However, that doesn't mean that we should not consider them a concern. And one group right now that is taking Islamic group that is taking full advantage of the popularity of the Iranian people against the government is another Islamic group that is unfortunately very popular among Republicans. So if you want to blame the Democrats for supporting an Islamic group, their support, like a group that is helping the Islamic Republic, NIAC would be the main group that you should be concerned about. But to be honest, the Republicans, they're also to be blamed because many Republicans are supporting another Islamic group, which is the MEK. Ted Cruz just recently gave a speech in an MEK event. So remember, guys, MEK is an Islamic Marxist group that is against the Islamic Republic, and a lot of fucking Republicans go and support them because they think they claim that they're supporting the Iranian people against the Islamic Republic. The MEK is a terrorist organization. Just remember that that's the main Islamic Iranian group that the Republicans are supporting. There have been ever since the massive revolution, and even before, there have been so many Republicans constantly going to their events, giving speech there. The MEK has a lot of money, and they're using it for lobbying the U.S. government, and Republicans are falling for them, and they act like the MEK is the liberation front for the Iranian people. The Iranian people hate the MEK, and I don't know why the Republicans constantly use them as the brand of the group that is the freedom fighters for Iranian people. The Republicans need to get their shit together. The main brand that you need to support when it comes to supporting the Iranian people is Reza Pahlavi, not the MEK. So I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Why so many Republicans? I mean, we got Pompeo supporting the MEK. We had Giuliani supporting the MEK. We had Mike Pence supporting the MEK. We had who's Mr. Mustache? Why I keep forgetting his name? The epic mustache neocon. Now Ted Cruz is supporting. John Bolton supporting the MEK.
Really?
Yeah, fucking yeah. And now we have Ted Cruz supporting the MEK. This is a group that has less than 0.5% support, if any support in Iran. People hate them sometimes more than even the Islamic Republic. And now they're making their leader, Mariam Regevi, the face of the fucking opposition. This is an Islamic terrorist group. I don't know what the fuck is happening here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, okay, wait. Let me get my notes. Okay, let's go to the next news. We should not clap for this news.
Oh, no clapping.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Okay. All right. Well, next news then.
Next news: Taliban's ban on women in nursing and midwifery sparks global condemnation. The Taliban's latest decree banning women from training as nurses and midwives has drawn global condemnation, with activists calling it an outrageous act of ignorance that threatens the lives of millions of Afghan women. Announced on December 2nd by the Taliban's Ministry of Public Health, the ban has already shuttered medical training institutions for female students across Afghanistan. Heather Barr of Human Rights Watch warned of the devastating implications. Quote, if you ban women from being treated by male healthcare practitioners, and then you ban women from training to become healthcare practitioners, the consequences are clear. Women will not have access to healthcare and will die as a result. End quote. Protests erupted in Herat as women chanted, "Education is our right," while experts highlighted the dire consequences of this policy, where maternal health care is already among the worst globally, with 620 deaths per 100,000 live births. Activists fear the ban will leave women giving birth alone without skilled healthcare workers, exacerbating Afghanistan's healthcare crisis. So, like I just explained, I mean, the absurdity of this is immediately obvious. So if you're banned from seeing a male healthcare professional, and then you ban women from studying to become healthcare professionals, which was the only pathway for higher education that still existed for women. This was the only exclusion. The only exclusion that had existed to bans on higher education. Then the consequence is you don't see a doctor at all, or there are going to be a very small number of women who are already trained, and they will continue to practice, presumably, unless they, who knows what will happen next. But then moving forward, you're going to have a dwindling population of women that are trained to be a healthcare provider to women. And I mean, Armin, what do you think about this?
This is not
as
even
audience.
Islam. Again,
Yeah.
guys, I have no fuck. This seems like Taliban just, guys, I am not going to make excuses for Islam, okay? I am as anti-Islam as it can get, okay? But this is insanity beyond Islamic levels. I say that as an anti-Islam activist, okay? If you don't believe me, fuck Islam, okay? Okay, but this is the Taliban. I have no idea where the fuck they're getting this from. This is not Islamic standard. Islamic standard is like, oh yeah, most women should not have a career. They should stay at home, raise the babies, serve the husband, have sex with the husband, and that's pretty much cook food, and that's pretty much it. However, because women cannot go to male doctors, Islam says some women, very few women, should be trained for this type of shit. And the Taliban has gone more insane than Islam, which is quite an accomplishment. Okay, quite an accomplishment to be more insane than Islam. I don't know what the fuck is happening here. Is this I think they're just waging war against women. I don't know why. They're just like, I honestly think this might be it, because there are the main activists against the Taliban in Afghanistan are women. I think the Taliban is just showing a middle finger to women. This is just a tit for tat. You might think this might be too childish to be part of the politics, but I think this is genuinely what's happening here. And like, oh, you're telling the world that you're being oppressed by us, and you're doing activism against us because we're not giving you education. Well, fuck you. We'll take even this from you. That's what I think is happening.
But it doesn't make sense to me, because like Sarah had a comment here and she was saying, I thought these people valued having a lot of kids. Like, okay,
this is just
this is something that came up because I've been doing a little bit of a deep dive wormhole down like authoritarian right Twitter and the war between like the trad Catholics and the Gripers. And there was someone saying like to the Gripers, who are like neo-Nazis on 4chan, for those who don't know, that like any movement needs women, okay? Because the nature of life itself is to expand, and for memes, as in ideas, ideologies to expand, you need to replicate. You need women to help you bring in the next generation, right? In service of this higher ideology that you serve, right? So any movement needs women. So why are you endangering not only the lives of women who are going to bring you the sons who will help you further your freaking jihad, to help you bring the daughters that will help you bring more men, etc., further it through generations? How is it in your interest to adopt policies that are going to be of an extreme detriment to the lives of the people and the babies that you need for a future? I don't. It seems like self-deletion.
Okay,
Like it makes no sense to me.
Let me tell you why my things make sense to them. Okay, even without proper. So how many of the children will die because of lack of care? Let's say, I don't know, 10% will die because
maybe more. I mean, the maternal mortality rate is
sure.
already very high, one of the highest in the world.
Okay.
It's going to get worse.
10% more, 10% more, 20%. I don't know, whatever. Okay. However, the thing is that their main priority, I think, is this. Half the population has had a taste of freedom, some of them at least, right? And now they are too arrogant and eager to get their freedom back. And they should be put in their place. So even this is what politically would make sense. Even if this is allowed Islamically, the thing is that these people, by these people I mean women, are becoming too emboldened. This might be a gateway drug to more education and more independence. So because these people, women, want to get independence and eventually use their independence and their financial security to become more powerful as a bloc against the Taliban. So they took the education away from them. They took the financial security away from them. So they need to be dependent on men. So I think the reason why they're blocking this is not because this is anti-Islamic. They think like we should. This is the most dangerous. The feminist fight is the most dangerous internal uprising against the Taliban, because this seems to be the thing that the world cares mostly about when they pay attention to Afghanistan. So we need to bankrupt this group to be always dependent on men. So we should like remove any outlet for them to have any autonomy or agency or financial security, even if it's through Islamically allowed methods. This is what I think is their mindset right now. I don't know if this is true. I'm just guessing that this is their mindset. What do you think?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Again, going back to systems of coercive control. I mean, this is reaching levels of control that is almost unimaginable. Like, to me, the status of Afghan women is like almost a form of like chattel slavery. I don't feel like it's an exaggeration to put it in those terms. I don't know if there are words actually strong enough to describe what's going on systematically in Afghanistan. And it's so I can think of, to be honest, like few existences that are worse than being a female in Afghanistan. I mean, it is like when I was studying for this segment, I was reading a piece about how, like, so women that are widowed, they have no means to support themselves because they're not allowed to work, and now they're not allowed to look at men in public. They're not allowed to speak to men in public. They have no system for providing for themselves. They have no education to provide for themselves. So it was looking at what happens to women who are widowed in Afghanistan. And basically they are forced to just beg on the street with their children. But then they're punished and then criminalized for begging for bread on the street with their children. And these women, who literally have no other way to provide for themselves, are taken to jail for begging, separated from their children. Sometimes they're kept with their children. They watch children be beaten to death within these prisons, by the way. They are forced to cook and clean for the Talibs until the Talibs start graping them in the prisons. And they're just kind of like warehoused there. There was a report that said that there's something like 60,000 people that are going through the prison system for begging. And there are these images of like women begging for bread outside of little non-shops. But it's not like, oh, there's one lady. It's like a group of 25 women sitting on the ground, like just waiting for bread. Like literally, they have what is the mechanism for bettering their life? There is none. I mean, it's like they have to sell their children sometimes to provide for the other children. Let's not forget that boys are also sexually exploited in Afghanistan. Systematically.
Oh, so much.
You know,
much.
Yeah. So a lot of these women who are interviewed were like, to be honest, I would do a self-deletion, but I have to protect my kids from them being systematically sexually exploited. So, I mean, I really I really don't know what to do. It's to me, I just think it's important to still talk about this stuff. You know what I mean?
So I need to make a point before we look at these comments.
Mhm.
I was watching a report on this by local journalist. Okay, somebody, an Afghani woman who had access to local, so she's outside of there, but she was like calling women secretly and getting reports from there. And apparently, some women who were seeking advice about medical stuff because they cannot now, they're not allowed to see a male doctor, and they're not, female doctors are not available, or they're slowly being removed as well. So but apparently the advice they have gotten from some Taliban is to train themselves in Islamic medicine so that they could self-diagnose and self-treat themselves. So like women are like, what do we do when we get sick and we need to go to the doctor? And that was the official advice from the Taliban, to just learn home remedies, follow Islamic medicine, which is basically a bunch of woo crap, by the way, and
Including
basically self-diagnose.
camel piss, for those who don't know. That includes drinking camel piss.
Yeah, I don't know if that's where they're gonna get that. But yeah, there's a lot of plants involved, a lot of fucking superstitious stuff involved. But apparently, not only they have to self-diagnose, self-treat themselves, and no doctors available. That was the official response by some Taliban members to women. It's crazy. I mean, okay, so some people. So let me tell you how bad this is. Someone is saying, "Welcome to 700 AD." It's not. 700 AD had it better. Okay, we had doctors women went to in 700 AD, even in under an Islamic caliphate. It was acceptable that there are some ways, sometimes okay, to see a male doctor. Okay, so this is worse than that. And also, I want to call this out. I know I agree with what you guys are saying, but I just want to tell you how bad the situation is. Okay, so Chuck was saying Taliban are cavemen. Women were during that time, women had agency and autonomy. More evidence actually shows that cavemen men and women lived semi-equally. Women were an important part of the tribe, and they were treated as just like men, sometimes actually better than men, because they were considered life givers. So this is a lot worse than caveman situation. It's worse than 700 AD situation. This is a new low in our history. Yeah.
Dude, where are they getting this stuff? Where are they getting this from?
Yeah.
Because they try to use that excuse of, I forget what the Islamic term for it is, but like, okay, there's like what you have to follow within Sharia, and then there's also what is allowed within a specific culture. Do you know what I'm talking about, Armin?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to use that excuse or something.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, I just have to mention before I just forget, because Roy just messaged me and he's offended that the research, that the news that I said somebody sent that to me. I said I don't know if I have the permission to mention the name of the person who sent that to me, because it was a private message, and now he's telling me, you have no shame. Like, why you're not mentioning it? Okay, Roy sent it to me. It was Roy that sent me. Be sure. Okay, thank you, Roy.
That's funny.
He called me out. Yes. Okay.
Breaking news from Armin's DMs.
When I get a private message, I have to get permission from you before I mention what's in that private message. Okay.
Yeah, we take privacy very seriously.
Yeah, you offended. He's joking, by the way. Let's look at these comments and then go to the super chats and the next news.
Yeah. So this is another
just a
one just
news
explaining the
announcement.
situation. Scroll down.
Let's look at.
Oh,
Scroll
this
down,
was
down. Oh,
one of the
which one?
videos that D found for us. So actually, wait, go up so I can provide the caption.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah. Wait,
Here.
can you scroll up a little bit so I can read the? Okay, never mind.
Oh, no. Sorry. Here, let's read the caption.
So basically, this is this is footage of reactions from women after they were banned, being cut off from medicine, the only field still available. Oh, and it's from Habib Khan. He's an Afghan activist. I follow him. Okay, let's show the video.
Let me unmute. Let me unmute it. Now let's.
آتش پرچه که امروز گریان کرد آتش پرچه سرطبیب به من سرطبیب بگه سرطبیب این سرطبیب میشه انشالله میشه بخیر پیروز سرطبیب میشه.
This is basically their last window of hope. Any chance for agency or a job taking away from them.
Do you understand what they're saying?
Wait, I wasn't listening. Let me actually listen again.
سرطبیب به من سرطبیب بگه سرطبیب این سرطبیب میشه انشالله میشه بخیر پیروز سرطبیب میشه.
Oh, she said one day you will be something. Yeruzi. Okay. I can't. She's saying, God willing, one day you will be something. I don't know what that something is. Okay, she's now I understand this part. She's saying, "I won't cry, I won't cry." So she was trying to, she was almost crying, and she stopped herself, and she's now came back and she said, "I won't cry, I won't cry." گریه نمی‌کنم. I won't cry. She says, like, we shouldn't cry. A pain that gets all the way to your bone doesn't have any more crying left. So she's saying the pain is so much that at that point there's no crying for it anymore. That's what she's saying. Wow.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, people are saying this is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what like the recourse for this kind of thing even is. You know? Kenny saying, what can we do to help these women? I have something to say and people are not going to like it. There seems to be absolutely nothing. The Taliban right now is the hegemon, is the power of that region. The strongest military in the world wasn't able to change that reality. It doesn't seem like, again, if I'm wrong, tell me. But right now, there doesn't seem to be any solution. Just this is it. This is just the reality of Afghanistan for the foreseeable future. We need to cut off funding from the Taliban. That'd be a step.
Then some people will say, "Well, yeah, I don't want to get into that discussion to tell you about I don't want to analyze that right now because we are running out of time."
Yeah.
We have other news, but
yeah. Oh, we got some super chats.
Yes, let's do that.
A gave a super chat saying, "Please do a deep dive sometime on different Islamist groups influencing our government. I want to know more." Ooh, well, I know about some reports that will be coming out soon, and it gives me an excuse to tell you about some other very, very important stuff. So I would love to do that. BGC Vitan gave, I think this is Bulgarian money. Ooh. Saying, speaking of cults, when will you cover cargo cults? Probably never, because it's not current or relevant to our group. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting little deep dive into psychology and stuff, but it's not, really in the purview of what we cover. It's also an interesting examination of pseudoscience. Bring It On gave a super chat. Thank you. Saying, please speak on minority intimidation in Bangladesh. I have actually been very interested in covering this. I need credible sources. Because there's a lot of stuff going on and I don't know how legit it is in Bangladesh. So if you know credible sources that or specific instances that you want us to cover, you can give us suggestions in our Discord, link in the description, and you can put it in our news suggestions channel for that if there's something that you want us to cover. I actually do check that on a regular basis to look for ideas and hear from our audience about what they want us to talk about. But I'm looking for credible stuff because there's a lot of, I don't know, disinformation going on all over the place in Bangladesh. It's hard for me to know as a foreigner, like, what's really going on. Okay, so let's move to the next story.
Yes.
I don't know if we should clap for this, but
let me see.
It gives us an opportunity to shit on the Islamic Republic. I like doing that.
Yeah, but I don't know. Let's not, because it doesn't get more abusive than this, I guess. Like, this is top up high up there.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So, next news.
Barbaric justice. Iran's shocking rise in amputations under Islamic law. Whoops. I messed up. Iran's escalating use of amputations as punishment for theft under Islamic law has drawn fierce international condemnation, with human rights advocates labeling the practice as inhumane, cruel, and degrading. Despite global pressure, the Iranian regime has reportedly carried out at least 129 amputations since 2000, and the actual numbers are believed to be much higher due to state efforts to suppress publicity. Defending the practice, Iran's judiciary head, Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejai, stated, quote, if theft is proven under conditions set by Islam, the thief's fingers must be amputated. This is a ruling from God. Critics argue these punishments violate Iran's commitment under international human rights treaties, obviously, including International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which prohibits inhumane or degrading treatment. Mahmoud Amiri Moghadam of Iran Human Rights called for global accountability, emphasizing that such actions constitute a serious violation of the conventions that the Islamic Republic of Iran has signed and pledged to uphold. So I wanted to cover this partially to highlight that this is something that is increasing and escalating, and particularly because there have been several amputations that have happened very recently. And then, Armin, I would like you to explain, like, what is the system of thought for this within Islam? Because I don't know. I think a lot of, especially because we've had so many new subscribers to the channel, like, I don't know how many people know that this actually happens in Iran still. So, for example, on October 13th, the state-affiliated Iran Daily newspaper reported that 8 theft suspects had been indicted and referred to the criminal court facing potential amputation sentences. Another case reported on October 29th saw the amputation of 4 fingers from 2 brothers in the Urmia prison where they were convicted of theft. Then on November 9th, Tehran-based Etemad reported that 2 suspects accused of robbing a safety deposit boxes at the National Bank were sentenced to hand amputation. There were at least 237 individuals in Iran that were sentenced to amputation between January 2000 and September 24th of 2020, with at least 129 of those sentences carried out, according to researchers. And I have a lot more that I want to say about this, but Armin, I will give you the chance to jump in first.
Well, first of all, this is actually 3 points, right? 4, actually. First of all, in Iran, they also do this disgusting thing at selling you anesthetics before the amputation. So they try to make money as it as well. So you could either go through it with pain, or you could pay for the painless version, so that they turn this into a money-making scheme as well. There's that. So another point is, as Dee mentioned in the live chat, this is actually the worst thing you could do to a thief, because the best thing you could do to people who are stealing in society is get them to a point, to a place where they could actually make money on themselves, so that they don't rely on stealing. Like you obviously you punish them, but you also want to get them to a point where they could make money through legal ways. So somebody who has been failed by the system in a way that, especially in Iran, you could blame the system for these people having to go rob something, right? So this person is already suffering. These are people who cannot look at their children at night because they are in so much shame, because as a father they cannot provide for their children in the dying economy of Iran. And now you actually manage to take away any opportunity for them to be able to maybe one day be able to make money in the future. So they went and robbed out of desperation, out of shame, because their children, there's so many suicides in Iran by fathers because they're ashamed of their children. Because one father did this when their child was crying because they didn't have the coloring pencils that they require for their homework, and there was another father basically ended himself because he couldn't buy the bicycle that his daughter wanted. He couldn't afford it. So a lot of fathers are feeling so much shame and self-hate because in this economy they cannot provide for their children, and some people will go and steal. One person lost his fingers because he stole a sheep, for stealing sheep. And now the solution of the government is cut their fingers to make sure they will never be able to provide for their family. So and then the next point is, nobody in Iran who steals a lot of money gets their hands cut. Only
systematic corruption.
Yeah, no, even people who go to prison for stealing large sums of money, like corporate money, corporate theft, they never get their fingers cut off. Only the people who steal sheep or small money, only poor people in Iran get their fingers cut. People who are stealing billions and billions, even though they're stealing more, they get to keep their fingers for some odd reasons. Only people who steal small sums of money, they get their hands cut off. And also, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that this is completely in accordance. Where this comes from is from the Quran. This is not even Hadith. This is one of most Islamic laws comes from the Hadith, but some of them come directly from the Quran. Few of them come directly from the Quran. And this is one of them that comes directly from the Quran. This is Quran chapter 5, verse 38. You could just read it. It says, the thief, as for the thief, the male and the female amputate their hands in recompense for what they earned. or i.e. committed, as determined punishment from Allah, and Allah is exalted in might and wise. Which is one of the dumbest. Like, anybody who understands how you recover society from crime, anybody who has studied this, anybody who has any form of knowledge, like based on the evidence that we have, knows that this is the worst thing you could do. One of the worst thing you could do to basically keep a economically crippled society remain crippled, remain paralyzed. Instead of turning people who are making society suffer, like that are harming society, instead of changing them to somebody that is contributing to society, you make sure that they remain a cause to the society. This is the worst solution to this problem. This is insane.
I mean, this is the kind of situation that I like to emphasize to people. We, a few years ago, covered the story of an amputation that happened to a man who was accused of some, very relatively petty theft, especially in comparison to the systematic corruption of the IRGC. And oh my God, I can't even believe this. Not only do they extort people basically by saying, oh, if you pay extra, we will give you anesthetics, right? While we force you to undergo this torture. This is torture. Not only will you can pay extra to get that service, like what is this, an a la carte menu? But they actually told these guys who were getting their fingers amputated that if they paid extra, they would allow them to keep their fingers so that they could be sewn back on. I'm not making this up.
That is actually the correct version of the news that I said, because I was looking this up to see what you have to pay for, and you have the correct version of the news. So you're more correct than I am. So go on. Sorry. So I was looking to see if I was correct, but what you said is the correct version. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. So imagine that not only is this occurring in a supposed medical environment, because it is doctors that do this to people, a twisted interpretation of the medical environment. A lot of these men get life-threateningly sick with infection when this happens. And then they're offered that if you pay extra, they'll put your fingers on ice and then try to sew them back on and reattach them afterwards. And you might be like, well, how is that allowed? Blah, blah, blah. It's because the punishment was exacted, right? The amputation did occur as the punishment. Now they're like, oh, well, if you pay extra, we'll put it back on. And then you get the best of both worlds. Am I right? You're punished and then you get to keep it. It's so freaking sick and twisted. And this is why I am still to this day furious to my core that we as a society, that are governments, that are diplomats, engage with the Islamic Republic as if they are a normal state. The Islamic Republic is not an abnormal state. The Islamic Republic is an abnormal state involved in the medieval punishment of its civilians. That's the only way that I can describe it. I don't know why we believe they're saber rattling. I don't know why we play into the rhetorical games they play about culture or whatever. This is just straight up medieval 7th century shit. And we just decide to engage with this government as if this is like any other country. It still blows my mind to this day. Go ahead.
So I found it. In some instances, authorities have offered prisoners the option to pay for additional services related to the amputation process. For example, before amputating the fingers of Sayyid Barat Hosseini, officials informed him that he could pay to have his fingers frozen and then surgically reattached. So yeah, they're making money out of him. Due to financial constraints, he was unable to afford this option and subsequently underwent the amputation without anesthesia. Oh, so I was correct as well. Without anesthesia. So there's both services. So we were both correct. So there are multiples. You have a package. You could be like, would you like the package where you get your figures back? Would you like the package where you get anesthetic? So yeah, so I was correct as well. If you want to not feel the pain, you have to pay extra. After the procedures, he experienced severe pain, blood loss, and infection, and was held in isolation without adequate medical care. Okay, so that's the actual detail. I went and found it. That's crazy. Like, we're being barbaric. We might as well make some money off of it. But go on.
I mean, no, this is literally like we have to talk about this because we can't make this stuff up. You know what I mean? Like, I need people to understand the level of just like open barbarity that we're talking about here, as a matter of state, as a matter of the state conducting itself. So there was one video that Dee found that we could show, and it is actually a Islamic Republic official talking about these punishments within the context of how to treat protesters in 2019. So the context of this is basically this guy is inciting authorities to use the Quran to justify the treatment of civilian protesters in the mass atrocity known as Bloody Aban. So for context, basically there was a mass protest over a spike in gas prices that occurred in November of 2019. You can look up this event. It's called Bloody November or Bloody Aban. And because of these mass protests that happened, the government literally just shut down internet, just blacked out everything in the entire nation for a long time. I can't remember how long. And just straight up was committed one of the largest massacres against civilians in the history of the Islamic Republic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's estimated that 1,500 to 3,000 people were just shot dead in the street over a series of days or weeks. I mean, Armin, am I inaccurate?
Oh, so Bloody Aban, I think the numbers, if I remember correctly, are something between 600 to 1,500 in a few days. If I remember it correctly, I think the Reuters was the news agency that gave the 1,500 number, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, look, John is fantastic. John is saying Reuters puts it at 1,500.
Okay.
Thank you, John. So yeah, I do remember it correctly. Thank you
for fact checking me. But just for context, I mean, that is substantially worse than the civilian death toll we saw during the Massa revolution, right? And the they blacked out the whole country on internet, right? At that time.
Yes, that's why we didn't see a global reaction to it, because the country went dark when they were massacring people in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some infidel Avash is saying yes, 1,500 people in 4 days.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so that's the context of when this was filmed. Armin, we don't have to watch this whole thing, but I think like the first minute is kind of good. Do you mind playing it and then reading the subtitles or providing your own translation?
Can you read the subtitles? Because people
sure.
Listening. Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
So you just play it. I leave the control to you.
So it's saying first the Quran says, well, they don't translate this one term, and yoghtalo.
And yagotalo means to kill. And so the root verb, I know a little bit of Arabic. Correct me if I'm right, guys. This is the gatala root verb, so meaning to killing. So he will explain it. So he's saying the Quran is not saying an yogatalo, not an yogat yuqattalo. So an yuqattal. Oh no, he will pronounce it himself. Good. So
Okay.
یقتل یعنی چی؟ ها یک ان یقتلو زجر کش.
So the
Meaning
host
that-
is asking, what
yeah.
does it mean? So the host himself is asking, what does this mean? Because the host speaks Persian, not Arabic. So he's going to translate himself. So you read it. So now he's going to translate himself. Go on.
Meaning that they should be tortured to death, not just simply killed. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Wow.
زجر کش بشوند نه کشته بشوند. آیه اینه.
It is the exact meaning of the verse.
علمای بزرگوار ما هم که
Our ulama, meaning the scholars, Muslim scholars, are good interpreters of the Quran. So he's making it very clear where he's getting this from.
اهل تفسیرن ما را
They'd advise us if my interpretation was wrong. Okay, again, emphasizing once again the authority of what he's about to say.
نصیحت کنند اگه خلاف ترجمه میکنیم. ان یقتلو
And yogatolo should be tortured to death, crucified.
زجر کش بشوند.
I
No,
can't
he
pronounce
says
any
that-
of this.
He's saying Zaj Kosh Beshavan means that if you killing them, they should experience pain while dying, not just peacefully dying.
Oh my god. Yasalabo. Okay, so basically another designation
Yes,
is someone who
to
should
be
be hanged.
crucified. Yeah. No, not
Oh,
hang,
Yusallab.
crucified. That's wrong. That's the
here,
wrong
okay.
translation. Yasallaba means crucified. But yeah, go on.
Okay, thank you.
به دار آویخته بشوند.
Oh, he's translating it to being hanged, but yasallabo means to be crucified. So he's translating. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
او تقطع ایدیهم و ارجلهم من خلاف. بشنویدا یه دونه این اجرا بشه ما
Listen up. If they've been dealt with such ways, they, the protesters, wouldn't dare to protest again. So let me make it very clear what he's saying. That civilian protesters should be openly treated with this kind of barbarity, tortured to death, killed with as much pain as possible, because if we did that, they wouldn't protest again.
دیگه نوبت بعدی ها که به پیاز خوابانده شده اونا غلط میکنن بیان به میدان چون این باید علنی باشه.
And they should be punished and executed publicly and where the crime was actually committed.
در نقطه جنایت باید اعدام بشن یا مجازات بشن. درسته؟
بله.
It's like, am I right? The host is like, Bale, yes. Then it says their hands and feet should be cut off on opposite sides in the worst way possible.
خب بعد میگه با بدوضعی قطع بشود بریده بشود دست راستشون با پای چپشون خیلی حرفا
Four
یه
fingers of
دست
the right
راست بریده
hand
بشود 4 انگوش و پای چپ
and all the toes of the left foot should be cut off.
هم انگشتانش بریده بشود اینطوری رها.
Then he shall be left stigmatized in the society. Yeah, because it's not enough for you to be publicly tortured in this way. This is also made to make you a pariah in society.
بشه در اجتماع او ینفو من الارض و نفی بلد.
They should be exiled, and I personally know people who have been internally exiled in Iran for their protest as civilians, political prisoners.
تبعید بشود نه که به شیراز بفرستن که آب هوای
But not to Shiraz, somewhere nice.
خوبی هم داره بفرستن در وسط.
It has to be someplace like in the middle of a sea. How do you exile
because
someone to
Shiraz
the
is-
middle of a sea?
I don't know. You could drown them, I guess. But he's saying like Shiraz is famous for having a nice climate. So he's like, don't send them to Shiraz.
Mm.
دریا یه کشتی قراضم گیر میاد بالاخره.
In a rotten ship, so he spends his last days in agony. Oh my god.
اونجا زندگی کنه تا بمیره.
این میگه نفی بلد.
نفی بلد.
What is nafid balad?
It's an Arabic term for exile. So he said like when you exile them,
Oh.
there's a form of type of exile. Make sure you send them somewhere horrible. So after you cut off their hands and feet, so some people need to be tortured to death. Some other people you need to cut off their hands and feet, and some other people you need to exile them in middle of a ship in the middle of the sea, I guess.
This next part is interesting. And may God bless Mr. Raisi, the current head of the judiciary, who became the president, who became Cutlet when he was killed in a
God
helicopter
bless
crash.
Yeah, may God bless Mr. Raisi. Mr. Raisi was stoned by Allah with a fucking mountain.
بعدم من از دوستانی که واقعا چی بگم خدا این آقای رئیسی رو برای ما نگه دارد. من اینو خوش ندارم.
Wow, what did he said? May God keep Raisi for us. May Allah keep Raisi for us for like the amazing.
He did not.
I didn't see this.
He did not.
He did not.
He did not. He did not.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's actually just Oops.
Oh.
Cut it right there for now so we keep time for the next news. But
yes.
Hajj Avash gave this comment. He's saying, I can remember a time when I was 15 in Shiraz where they were amputating someone's hand in public and I was walking by and it was terrifying. I just want people to like imagine what that's like to know it's going on, implemented by the government within your society.
It's crazy. I know we don't have enough time to highlight all the comments at but I just want to highlight this one because this is fucking bullshit.
Oh my God.
So this is Anthony Sloan from America is saying they have a whole lot less crime thanks to their laws. America could learn from them. You fucking idiot. They have more crimes. They have more crimes with this stuff in Iran. You're an idiot. They actually have more crimes. It's almost as if the problems are deep rooted. You cannot.
Yeah, this is literally a line that Islamists use to whitewash Sharia constantly. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move to the next news, and we can clap for this because I love exposing Islamists in the UK.
Fantastic. Oh, Islamists in the UK. Okay,
Islamists in the UK.
Yeah. Next news.
Next news. Hatred for the sake of Allah. UK Islamic charity faces backlash. The Tawheed Islamic Education Center, or TIEC for short, in Maidenhead in the United Kingdom, is under fire for alleged extremism and misogyny, sparking widespread condemnation. The center employed, how do I pronounce this? Hamilia Timayeva, a 20-year-old Chechen refugee recently on trial for disseminating terrorist materials. So that's this girl in this image right here. Prosecutors revealed that Timayeva created lessons plans. She created lesson plans for children in this mosque using the book Little Muwahideen, which glorifies jihad and includes a section, again, in a book for children, and the section is titled Hatred for the Sake of Allah. Gareth Wheatman, prosecuting, described the material as, quote, not just teaching about the basics of Islam, but indoctrinating young minds. Compounding the controversy, a 2022 sermon by TIEC leader Ustad Yahya al-Rabi advocated forcing women to wear hijabs, stating in this old sermon has recently come to light and then it was removed from their websites, right? Stating that men should admonish their wives and use harsher, stern approach if necessary if they refuse. The National Secular Society has called on regulators to act, reporting them to the Charity Commission and denouncing the charity for promoting extremism and misogyny. Quote, it is shocking to hear these views in 21st century Britain, Megan Manson, head of campaigns at the NHS, stated. Charities must not be used as a vehicle for misogyny and extremism. To be honest, is it shocking to hear these views in 21st century Britain? No.
Used to be shocking.
I'm not saying it's right, but it's not shocking, to be honest. So let's dig into this case a little bit further. So basically, and I would love to give a shout out to the National Secular Society of the UK. Because my friends, there are a lot of like atheist, humanist, secular organizations around the world in different countries that talk about everything except Islamic radicalism in their countries. Most of them are focused on evangelical extremism, well, at least here in America, Christian nationalism, whatever. And literally no one says anything about the hatred, anti-Semitism, terrorism, and radicalism that is openly promoted in, Jumu'ah prayers freaking every week. They're noticeably silent about that misuse of the religious charitable designation, right? National Secular Society is not one of those organizations. They are extremely consistent, and they are constantly calling out these Islamic charities that are promoting extremism and terrorism and constantly reporting them to the Charity Commission. So I would just like to give a shout out to them because I think that work is very necessary, and I appreciate their consistency on this issue and the fact that they do not turn the other way, probably for all the other politically correct reasons that other people turn away. So let's first dig into the one of the things that first led to this mosque being put on notice. So basically, there was this woman who's working for the mosque, and she has been charged with disseminating terrorist publications and possessing a document for terrorist purposes. And she was employed at this mosque. She's a Chechen refugee, young woman. And she was had this lesson plan for children called Little Muwahideen. And this is how it's described. The book has a colorful cartoon style aimed at children and has sections about waging war for Islam and hatred for the sake of Islam. The prosecutor added that this woman saw it as her duty to teach these extremist beliefs to young children. So she's like, this is my duty. And she's alleged to have sent the electronic version of this cartoon lesson plan to the specific mosque. And then in the case involving the rest of her prosecution, she told the court that her support for jihad only applied to Chechen men fighting Russia. It's like, I support jihad, but it's only for the Chechens. Okay.
You guys hate Russia, right? So this is only Chechens fighting Russia.
It's no big deal. Come on.
Sure.
So this whole case with her brought attention to this mosque. Following that attention, it was reported to the National Secular Society of a video that was published allegedly on the mosque's website in 2022. And the sermon was titled, "What Does It Mean to Be a Man or a Woman?" given by Ustad Yahya Al-Rabi. And he's the principal and head of the mosque's Tawhid Institute, which offers weekly structured Islamic science studies and caters to children from 6 to adult learners. So this is who he's responsible for teaching. In the sermon, he said that, quote, "A man is the one who tells his family, his women, to cover up, and he teaches that to them from a young age." He said that a man commands his daughters to wear hijab even before they are 15 years old. Then continuing, if a woman refuses to cover, the husband must admonish her and shouldn't share a bed with her until she obeys him in covering up. So this is obviously an extension of Quran 434 that prescribes wife beating, by the way. If she refuses, the man should take harsher, stern approach, including taking away her luxuries and making things perhaps a bit more difficult for her to cover up, to be a bit more forceful. End quote. He also continued, the place of a woman is in a home. If there's no need for her to go out, she shouldn't be going out, meaning she should be confined to the home. A woman should not be going out without the permission of her husband or her father or whoever is responsible for him. He continued, if she is not obeying him, and this is what they don't like to hear, you have to obey the one that is responsible for you, whether that is your father, which is of course a given, and also your husband. He also continued that it is not desirable for a woman to work, that it is wrong for a woman to work while her husband raises the children because men have authority over women, and said that a husband who takes the role of raising children at home is not a man, he is a woman. Continuing that we must take these matters very seriously because otherwise this society becomes corrupt. So Armin, now that I have shared a little bit more context about what our friend here is preaching, what are your reactions?
My reaction is like, the whole hatred for the sake of Allah. Do you guys want, this is, I mean, I know we're not shocked anymore, but I try to remain shocked because it's insane to teach children, yeah, you should hate. Like, imagine, you know how it's common for us to teach children to love, to care, to share, to show empathy and sympathy. Imagine how fucked up your worldview has to be to actively go tell children to hate for the sake of Allah. And the reason why they say for the sake of Allah, it means that even if you don't feel hatred, make yourself feel hatred, because you don't have to hate, because usually when we hate something, we hate it for our own sake because we are disgusted by something. We don't like something. So Islamically, when they say hate for the sake of Allah, it means that you should try hating something even if it doesn't feel like you should be hating it, because Allah wants you to hate it, right? So the term hatred so it comes from Bughz fillah, originates from the Islamic teachings about the concept of al-wala wal-bara. People who speak Arabic, tell me if I pronounce it well, which translate to loyalty and disavowal. This concept is based on the idea that Muslims' love and allegiance, basically wala, should be directed towards Allah, His religion, and those who adhere it, while their disavowal or bara should be directed towards anything contrary to Islam, including disbelief or kufr and sinful action. So this is why when you see a Muslim that tells, for example, a Christian or an atheist, I hate you for the sake of Allah, means that, yeah, maybe you're not demonstrating any behavior that makes me want to hate you, but I will hate you anyways for the sake of Allah, because it's my duty to hate you. And they're teaching this to children. This is going to fuck up their minds. Like, I don't know how you could recover from this. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and this organization is afforded all of the benefits of a charity within the United Kingdom as a privilege above other organizations.
Oh wow! Wait! They're tax exempt?
I actually don't. I'm assuming they're tax exempt. I actually am not familiar with that matter of law in the UK.
Fantastic.
I'm assuming so because they were reported to the Charity Commission because of this. So presumably they're a charity.
So they're a charity. So not only they're actually being guys. It's not that they exist in the UK. They're also taking advantage of your legal.
They're subsidized.
They're subsidized. Fucking hell.
I don't know if people will understand that, like, by the matter of you being tax-free by being a charity or de facto subsidized by the taxpayer. Because you're exempt from other requirements.
Wait, do we have time for this video? Because we have only 5. Oh yeah, it's short. 1 minute. We have only 5 minutes left.
There's one thing I want to clarify though, is that this is an example of a different masjid in the UK. But this is like this was a masjid that we covered previously for misogyny in the UK.
Yeah.
But so this is not the same one, but this is kind of like an example of the type of rhetoric, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Just to make that clear.
Listen to it. Yes, really clear. If we have 4 minutes. Okay, let's replay this again.
Nushuz here means she, for example, refuses to have intercourse with him. Then he gives her admonition. She comes back to intercourse, then khalas. If it doesn't benefit and she continues to refuse having intercourse with him, فَإِنْ أَظْهَرَتْ نُشُوزًا هَجَرَهَا, she continues in that, he boycotts her, meaning he doesn't sleep with her in the same bed. He doesn't leave the house, he's still in the house, but he doesn't sleep in the same bed as her. He abandons sleeping with her in the bed. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَرْتَعْهَا ذَلِكَ, if that doesn't, I said 4, right? Sorry, it's 3. If that doesn't help, then he's allowed to hit her a hitting that does not bruise and that does not break bones.
Yeah, by the way, this part is not part of the clarification is not part of the Quran. The Quran doesn't clarify that. He's adding that.
Meaning, مثلا, he shakes.
This is Quran 434 if you want to go check.
Or the likes of the like.
So just to
Anyways,
make this
is
abundantly
UK,
clear, this comes directly sanctioned by the perfect word of God.
And this is from a charity. This is actually from another charity. So this guy is this activity is also being tax exempt. By the way, this was, let's give credit where credit is due. This was one of the videos that Dee selected from us from a charity example in the UK. So that's why we played that. And thank you so much, Dee. Because we're running out of time, I'm not going to highlight the comments in the articles, but the video was from the videos that Dee selected. However, we did get it. We need to go fast because, guys, the reason why we rush it so much at the end of when we get too close to the 3 hours, because if we go a second over 3 hours, then our editor, the software that we use, is like, fuck, like she has to go through so much trouble cutting it in pieces. That's why we're so rushing it. Anyways, Gagin American gave us a super chat.
Oh my goodness. I think he was talking about Scaphism. Gagin, what does this mean? We
don't know what it means, but we don't know what it means, but we appreciate the super chat, guys. We're gonna go, but don't forget to like the stream and don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to hit the bell notification, and don't forget to recommend the Atheist Republic channel to your friends and to your enemies. Please do it. Make sure you help us grow this channel. We want to get to 100K. 100K, okay? So advertise us, okay? And most importantly, don't forget to remain liberal, stay liberal, and stay Zionist. Till next show, love all of you. Nope, take that back. I only love the people who have liked the stream. Shame on everyone else. Bye. Till next show. Bye.